Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian, joined as always by my good mate Lockie, and we are back. It has been a long time in between drinks, but we are finally here to bring you another episode and talk all things Carlton as we preview the season ahead. Lockie, welcome. How are you feeling as we jump into another huge episode?
Fantastic, mate. It's great to be back in person. When was the last in-person one? Maybe 2 years ago?
2 years ago, probably.
So it feels good to be in your presence.
Oh, love that. But look, before we jump in, if you've seen the titles of this episode, you probably know where this is headed, but we do have something quite bittersweet to announce that this is sadly the last real episode of this podcast. We are ending it. It's been a lot of fun doing this every week over the past 6 or so years. But I guess speaking for myself anyway, I feel like now is just feels like the right time to bring it all to a close. It's a sad thing to let go of. It's become such a big part of my week and footy routine, really. But like they say, I think all good things do have to come to an end at some stage.
Totally. I cannot believe that it's been 6 years
Crazy
since we started. There's been, well, I mean, I'm sure we'll reflect on it today, but there's been a lot of things that have changed with Carlton. A lot of things that have stayed the same. Same with us in our personal lives. So much has happened in that time. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for everything that we've done with the podcast over these 6 years. And I'm excited what this year's going to bring in a bit of a different way for us without this every week, which has become, such a staple of my Carlton fandom.
Yeah, and we're back in the original studio as well. We thought for sentimental stakes, we had to bring it back and be in this little room here. So apologies if the audio isn't as good as you used to. Trying to get two mics to work in the same room. Apparently in 2026, we're not smart enough to figure that out. But yeah, I think just like, obviously we want to be a bit transparent with people that do listen to the podcast that are thinking, why on earth are you stopping this? I think I'll speak for myself on this. Like, look, I absolutely love doing it. It's been so much fun, but there is a lot of time, effort, and energy that kind of does go into it. Like, I think it's changed a lot with how I do my weekly footy routine. I'm watching the game like normal. While I'm watching it, I'm writing notes. I'm thinking about it. I'm watching the game back multiple times. I'm writing more notes. I'm writing the run sheet. I'm thinking about what we need to say. I'm reading more of the footy media to think about what takes have been said. What can I react to? Then we've got to edit it. We've got to put it all together, run the socials. It is like a genuine part-time job.
Totally.
And I think easily we could not make it that. Like, it's a podcast at the end of the day. We could just hit record, talk for 2 hours, upload it, not even do a video format, not even do a thumbnail, not care about all those little things. But I think for me, I want something to be the best that it possibly can. And I love putting in that effort. Yeah. And as soon as it starts to feel a bit like a chore, I think that was the thing we said when we started this podcast. If it ever starts to feel like a chore, like we don't love every single part of it, maybe we need to hang up the boots. And that's kind of it for me, where I think, my enjoyment of footy and everything around it has kind of dropped away a little bit. And never say never. Who knows? Maybe in 3 weeks' time, I'll be saying I need to talk about footy.
I'm starting a solo podcast.
I'll start a solo podcast. I'll get rid of Lockie. That's the real reason that we're ending it.
That's what I'm going to.
No, so it's just one of those things where it's been so much fun, but it just hasn't been as much fun. And I think both of us don't really want this to sort of peter out like maybe it did near the end of last season, where the consistency of the episodes is not coming out the same day. We're maybe skipping a week. We want this to be the best it possibly can. And I think right now, both of us just kind of want to, well, anyway, I'm just speaking for yourself, but for me, I just kind of want to sit back and enjoy footy the way I used to. And never say never. I don't know if content might come back, but for now, we thought the best way to end this was just nice and clean with a final episode.
I mean, we start the season 8-0, and it's going to be hard to not want to jump behind the mic. But we're definitely aligned. I mean, those that have listened and know us know that we've been mates since we were 12, 13, been talking about Carlton basically every match since we were 13 years old. And that's why we started the podcast in 2020. We were like, why don't we just put these thoughts out there and see if anyone wants to listen? I don't think we had any expectation that literally one person would listen, but it was like, it's a pandemic. Let's just put our thoughts out there. So we've been very grateful to have so many more people listen, I think, than we expected, which is great. But it's similar to me. It was great for my last 2 years in London to have this. I think I was worried that leaving Australia, I would get disconnected from the Carlton community and that kind of thing, not being able to be at games and seeing people in the flesh. It definitely wasn't like that. I feel like I was more a part of it than ever. But with how, 2025 transpired, it was starting to, I think, having to kind of, I don't know, come on here every week and talk about the same old shit that we were seeing. It was starting to, affect the way that I was viewing games and taking that enjoyment away. And things would happen in the match, and I'm like, how am I gonna talk about this without being negative? Which is another thing we've always tried to do, is be optimistic and bring positivity.
Yeah.
Which was definitely hard at times last year as well. So, yeah, I'm excited to, even just being at the practice match, the Geelong game this week, I kind of went into that thinking, wow, like you and I are just going to talk about this game, not on the internet. And that there's something nice about that. So I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for that in 2026.
It is. It's going to be a nice change. But yeah, we'll be chatting more a little bit later in the episode about just reminiscing everything to do with the podcast since we started in 2020 all the way to now, seeing how things have changed. But we've got a lot to talk about as well, because we wanted to make sure that we left with a great episode. We didn't want things to peter out, and we just ended it with whatever was our last episode. I can't even recall what it was. Probably us both not being happy with Charlie Curnow and Jack Silvani, I'm sure. But we thought we'd do a big season preview, talk about what happened in the off-season leading up to now, previewing predictions, and then, as I said, a little bit of reminiscing near the end. And so
I like it.
Let's have a look at the first thing on the run sheet here. Current vibe check. Looking at what's going on right now, looking at everything that's happened over the off-season, there's been a lot of big changes. Administration and the list itself. When you look at the list overall, do you think we are better or worse off than last year?
I think, as always, talking to you on mic is going to help maybe bring me back down to earth a bit, because for me right now, my vibes are so high that I probably need to bring them back.
I can bring them down, but I need you to bring them up for me instead.
It's just been difficult not to get swept up, I think, in the positivity over the last few weeks and that kind of thing. But from a club point of view, I think that we're in a better position now than we were.
Yeah.
I think the list, or the team going into opening round, is going to be weaker because of those players lost. I don't think many people would disagree with that, but I'm feeling so much more bullish about the future than I was probably the last time that we spoke.
Yeah, no, I feel like we're weirdly aligned on that as well, because I think if you're looking at the list, we're clearly worse off than last year. You look at every single line, and we'll go into more of the specifics of those players and who we sort of replace them with. But I think we're worse off, but weirdly better off in the long run. That was kind of the note I had written down. You know, we could have kept doing the exact same thing with the same list. We're probably just going to get the same result. I'm happy that we have tried to look for that change. I think if we kept this same list another season, we weren't going to see any adapting in that game plan. We weren't going to see a new way of moving the ball, movement inside 50. It was going to be the same result for me. So I'm glad we actually did change it. And it's not ideal to lose, arguably your second best player and a guy like Charlie Curnow, and losing more of that spine with DeConing and Sauce. But if you've got guys that don't want to be there, you're always better off moving them away and trying to bring in that culture of guys that want to be there, want to fight, and want to see success. So if that's the thing that changes and we're slightly worse, taking that slight step back to move forward, I don't hate it. And I think it's hard to know 100%, but looking at guys like Hayward come in and just seeing the social media side of things, how they are a big voice, they are a big presence in that locker room. You just wonder how much is that the thing that we've been needing this whole time, is these more extroverted characters in the locker room, even though the talent is clearly a massive step down from Charlie Curnow to Will Hayward. They're not really a key forward anyway, but is that something that is actually going to take us forward in the locker room sense?
Yeah, it totally could be. When I think particularly in the mainstream footy media, looking at the off season of Carlton, those players that have left are all painted with the same brush, I think, but they're all such different circumstances in how they left and who they actually are to the club and that kind of thing. So I don't like to think about them all together. because they all have their own unique circumstances. But yeah, I'm just feeling so positive about the future, and we can get into what this year looks like and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm feeling a lot more positive now than I think I expected to.
Yeah, I think we're pretty aligned on that, to be honest. And I guess looking at those more individual players, you've said that you think we've taken that step back to go forward. So I believe that you don't think we've adequately sort of replaced them for now, but I kind of want to get your thoughts on each of those players and who we have brought in and where you see that in those coming years.
Yeah. I think they're all their own individual piece. When there was rumors about Silvani leaving, it might have been an unpopular opinion from me, but I didn't feel too concerned about that from a personnel aspect, because we knew that Dean was coming in, and O'Farrell showed enough in his first season that, to me, I'm like, okay, when O'Farrell gets back, if Dean has the season that we think, is Sauce even in this team? So for him, I think for the future, I was comfortable with him leaving. Not even sure whether he would be best 22 at the end of this year.
It was a great point when you raised it last year, and it really made me think about it. I think it's a downgrade, clearly. Dean coming in, a guy who hasn't played any AFL footy, 18 years of age, losing Sauce. But, I think we're a lot better in the long run, like you said, having O'Farrell, having Dean. The issue I have, and my main concern, is just that depth piece and who's bridging that gap. Who is that stopgap player for the next few years? We know O'Farrell probably won't play this year, or if he does, it'll be really late in the season coming back off the back of that injury. We don't know if Dean will start the season, if he is ready. So what is the now? We've got Nick Haynes there. I know he's injured currently, but he's not really that key defender. He's that third tall. McGovern's another guy who is a third tall. So right now it's Lewis Young and now Wade Dirksen, who we've seen a couple of preseason games. He looks okay, but my concern is that drop-off from Sauce to that bridging the gap player right now until Dean and O'Farrell get there. Is that enough? And we saw how we all felt when, Wiedering did go down and we thought it could have been a really serious injury, just how big an impact that has on our team. We have no other key defenders. I think that just really worries me going into this season.
For sure. But if Silvani had stayed, I think we need to not forget that this was his first season down back. How many games did he play? Less than probably we would remember. So I feel like even if he did stay, there's every chance that he would get injured and that kind of thing. So, there's obviously plenty of things that I'm not confident on going into this season. But, what do you think Sauce is going to be like at St Kilda this year?
Well, I'd decided to say I don't think that necessarily losing Sauce is the issue there. I think it's more who we brought in to be that bridging the gap player.
I get that.
And obviously it depends who's actually available there on the trade table. I think Buku Karmas was someone who was, and that would have maybe made me feel a little bit more at ease. But could Wade Dirksen be that? Again, we haven't seen a lot. He hasn't played an actual game of AFL football. But if he does what he did in the preseason for us this year, and even Lewis Young was a fine, depth piece for us.
Yeah.
If they can play that role, then I think we'll be fine. It's that lack of proven player that Sauce would have been perfect for, but past this season, I don't think he would have been in our best 22 in defense, and I don't think he would have been back and down forward either. So it's an interesting one. And I'm not sad that we've lost him in that sense. And like you asked the question about St Kilda, how many games is he going to play? I think when he plays, he's a really solid number 2 key defensive player. But has he proven that he can get more than 13 games out of him? I don't know.
Yeah, which is how many he played last season. Missed, obviously, the whole year before. So, and I didn't begrudge him for leaving either, because if I was Carlton, I wouldn't be giving him a 4-year contract, knowing that is he really going to be a better player than the Harrys in a year or two? I doubt it.
And getting that compensation pick back, it all just was the best for both parties. It's one of those kind of trade free agency moves where kind of everyone wins for their needs right now. Looking at the ruck, though, that's a clear downgrade. We lost to Koning. He was by far and away our number 1 ruck choice, even though at the end of last season, his form was droppable. We were all saying that. But I think we know the talent that De Koning is, particularly with these new ruck roles and allowing that more athletic type to potentially flourish. it now becomes Pitternet, and we've brought in Liam Reedy. What were your kind of thoughts on that replacement?
Exactly. And this is where each of these need to be considered in isolation, where I didn't feel like Sauce was a long-term best 23. TDK obviously was. Yeah. But I'm glad that we didn't pay him as our highest paid player on our list. I think that would have been a mistake. And I can't remember if we said on the podcast or not, but I think we would have been disappointed if we had matched that, right? So then on the replacement of Reedy, yeah, obvious downgrade. At least we brought in a ruckman.
Yes, for once.
Imagine if we didn't. That would have been a disaster and would have been a lot more worried. I don't know. How do you think it's going to play out with them this year, with him and Pitto?
Yeah, I think at the moment, Pitto's the clear number one. I think he showed enough as well in those preseason games where his ruckcraft around the ground, he's smart enough to know how to get it done. Reedy just doesn't feel like he's at that level just yet. I think Reedy looked better at the centre bounce because he's just that little bit more athletic, which with these new ruck rules, I guess we're going to find out where that goes at this stage. The tough thing for Reedy is what, 25, I believe. So it's not like we're getting a young sort of ruckman that he's still learning his craft. He should be ready to sort of start peaking right now, which is my maybe concern about him. But I like him as a pickup in isolation. How often have we said, who's that next ruckman coming through that can't get a game at their current club that could be the Lloyd Meek type player that you bring in? I think it's just, it's an issue when I think our ruck depth is Pitto, Reedy, and O'Keefe. That's pretty grim, particularly with the more athletic ruck rules coming into it. It doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, but if I was to pick one area on the ground, I was okay with us not being amazing, knowing that it is such an seemingly easy way to find a ruckman, find someone that can be there. It's this position here. And I think it's a transitional year. We're taking that step back.
Yeah.
If that means we've taken a step back in the ruck and then we get one next year or the year after, I can have a stopgap ruckman for the next 2 years and be fine with that.
Yeah.
Which I think Pitto kind of is.
Yeah, I agree. It's really difficult to me to foresee how the ruck is going to play out this year across the board. I'm seeing such divided opinions in the community, not just Carlton, just in the AFL community in general, on which ruckmen are going to be good and which aren't. I also found a lot of mixed opinions from this game of some people thinking that Pitto looked amazing in the Geelong game, others that thought he was dreadful, and same with Reedy. It's really difficult to know how this is going to play out and where we're going to be in 12 months. And if we're like, wow, we are desperate for a new ruck, it's killing us, the fact that we only have these guys, or are we going to be like, wow, this has actually worked out really well. We can just continue with them moving forward. We'll see. Yeah.
And I think the biggest point that you sort of raised, which is why I'm content with it enough, is I only wanted to pay De Koning or any ruckman on the list maybe 600, 700K.
So
I don't want to spend any more. So I think you have to make way.
Yeah.
The big one, though, is key forward. We've lost Charlie Curnow, by far and away our best key forward on the list. We've brought in, I guess you could say, Will Hayward. He's not really a key forward, but he's the closest to it if you're going to say we've replaced that position. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm so excited for the forward line this year and what it can look like with him and Ainsworth coming in particular. I guess as I think through my answer to this question, I feel like this is going to be the biggest what if. I think that our new game plan and kind of style and moving forward is going to work well. And I think we're going to be really happy. And then we're going to look back and go, what if we'd done this earlier? And what if we'd implemented this style when we had Charlie? What could that have looked like? And maybe that's going to be a bit of a what if that we look back on. So I think in terms of replacing him, I'm content with where we're at. I look at our forward line and I think there is enough avenues to go for me. And if you were just going to replace him with a genuine, 190 centimeter plus key forward, unless I'm misremembering, I don't know who that could have been.
Yeah. Oh, I think when you look at the half forward line that we've currently got, Hayward, Ainsworth coming into that, all you can think is, why didn't we get this 3 years ago? This is so ideal for how dynamic we needed to be. And it's a missed opportunity to not see that with Charlie and Harry, to surround those two with enough of those sort of role players, which we've been speaking about for how many years that we just haven't been able to do it. I think it's clearly a downgrade. I'm very concerned about the key forward stocks, mainly just because there's really no one. It's Harry, and we know his concussion history, missed some games with mental health.
Yeah.
Can we trust him to play a full season and be fine for the next 5 years? There's a slight concern on that. And then there's no one else. We do not have another key forward on this list. Lewis Young can play some key forward, but he's not great. Wade Dirksen is kind of the next main key forward because... And then you get to those more kind of mid-sized players like your Kemp, McGovern, and then also like a Will Hayward, where they're more mobile types. They're not your traditional key forward. So I think depth-wise, it's an issue. We definitely need to address that and bring someone in the next few years to have anyone else be there with Harry. But in saying that, like you, I'm so excited about what we're doing and the fact that it does look different and we're trying something new. We can't just long bomb it in and hope for the best. We've brought in guys like Ainsworth and Hayward that have some of the best leading patterns in the competition that love to create space, love to create options. You've got guys like Moya, Francis Evans. There's guys that like to roam about in that forward line. I feel like we've balanced the team out so much better than before. The issue is just the depth piece. If Harry goes down, it's such a big concern. But I like the idea of what we're trying to do here. If you're only going to have the one key forward, don't go completely small with like little Frank the Tanks running around. Go those mid-sized dynamic players, and it could really benefit us in the end. Which is crazy to think when you're talking about losing the best key forward in the competition, and that's somehow maybe working out better in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like this is going to work well. And then that's going to be a bit of the what if. It's like, imagine if we were actually lowering our eyes properly and delivering the ball well when Charlie was here, and not just now that he's gone. But I think, I don't know. I'm really positive about what the forward line will look like, honestly.
Yeah, so I guess, what did you make of that Charlie deal in the end? Were you happy with what we got through the door? Sorry if this feels like we should have discussed this 12 months ago. We haven't discussed in a while, so I did want to get this take filmed and on the record.
Totally. Well, it was one of the biggest moments in the life of the podcast, so it just makes sense. I was in New York. I had just arrived in New York, and you were giving me text updates throughout the night of whether you thought it was going to happen or not. And it was at the stage where, to me, it just couldn't have not happened. There was no way where he could have come back into the club. So I'm glad that it happened in the end. You're never going to get as much as you want back in a situation like that, where everybody knows that he can't come back. We had to do the deal. I think that Hayward and Florent are going to have a good effect on the club. We got some picks. Overall satisfied.
Yeah, like you have to let him go in the end when he's been kicking up that much of a stink, making it so public. You can't walk back through those doors. You have to move on people who don't want to be there. 3 first-rounders through the door and Will Hayward. I know we got rid of all of the second-round draft picks as well, which makes it maybe not look as good. But look, he's an A-grader. He's exactly what Sydney needs. It's as close to a win-win trade as you can get. Obviously, you want an A-grader coming back through the door. We were pretty adamant on that. If we're trading Charlie, we want a star to come back. I guess the reality is, how many of those trades ever happen in the AFL? It's normally draft picks that come back and maybe a role player. Hayward's probably the best role player you could get in a trade like that. He works perfectly for that forward line. We've seen the culture piece that he seems to be bringing with his extroverted nature. I think we've made the best out of a bad situation. It allows us to get Dean, allows us to get Cody Walker, get a couple extra draft picks to play with, knowing Tassie are about to enter the competition with that compromised draft and sort of trading free agency with all the money they're going to throw around. It's the best we could have done. Shake hands on it, move on. And I'm just excited to sort of step forward now. It felt like such a political way to end that spiel, though.
It felt very, like you're part of the club with that messaging. But I wish we could be up in Sydney booing him. I've got a lot of boos that I want to get out there. So it's a shame we can't be there. It's
a disaster that the AFL have not booked a return leg at the MCG.
Right?
That would have just been incredible.
That is.
It would have sold out in about 5 minutes. But I guess talking about the changes, we've said that we don't mind us kind of taking that step back. I kind of want to dive into this a little bit more. Why are you happy to take that step back at the moment. Feels like we've been taking step backs this entire time of supporting Carlton. Every time it starts to look good, it falls away. Why this time do you believe it's okay to get rid of some top players, take that step back to move forward?
Well, I suppose to me, I'm considering what the alternative would be. Like, if you look at the situation that we were in at the start of last season, you and I, or you could look at this whole era, where we arguably overachieved in 2023 in terms of making to a prelim. Like, were we really one of the best teams that year? It's hard to know. 2024 scraped into the 8. Maybe the team looked better than it was. And then obviously a disaster this season that we just missed. So that we just had. So, is there a world where we could have, made a step forward with the list, with everything that was happening? I just don't know whether there could have been. There's just so much to be positive about right now for me. When we sat here 12 months ago at the 2025 season, and I mean, I didn't watch back our 2025 predictions to look at this, but I don't know where I saw the improvement coming from.
I remember being concerned.
Right? It's like, I didn't know if I was that bullish on any of the young guys, especially after Jagger got injured. Like, he was the bright light. That was gone for the year. We were so fed up with the game plan, so unsure about Vossi, and we saw how that played out. Like, this felt like the only way that we could kind of move forward. And I'm sure we'll talk about Vossi, because that didn't change. Like, we didn't change the head coach, but there was so much other change this offseason. So you can be excited about each of those different elements too. So I think we had to kind of take this step back. But I think there's a world where we win more games this year than last year.
Yeah, like the ceiling and the floor are so far away. We've got such a high ceiling, but the floor is so low on this. And yeah, I'm not necessarily happy with taking the step back. Like, I don't believe you would be either, but I want to change. And if that's what the change looks like, then I'm content enough. And it's just whatever helps propel us forward. Like, I'm okay with a transitional year because it's transitional everywhere. New regime with Wright and Davies coming into the club. Haven't spent much time here yet to truly implement enough and to see what the full club top to bottom is like throughout a season and then go from there. So I'm really excited to see what this year's going to mean in that space and where they can see the improvements. One last year of Vossi. Is he the guy? Is he not? Do they move him on? It's transitional in that sense. I think there's a clear shift in that age demographic of the list as well. We're building more around that Walsh era than the Cripper era, which, that's going to be really interesting. I sort of broke down a little bit, which I'll chuck this up on the screen now for those watching on YouTube, but I made a bit of like a Carlton under 28s team to just see if there's enough of what we're kind of building out at the moment. And you've got, Dean, Cowan, Carroll, O'Farrell, and Florent in that back line. There's enough there in that kind of age bracket. Chera, Ollie Hollins on the wing. You've got Reedy as the ruck, Walsh, Jagger Smith. Like, those are clearly key pieces. Forward line, I'm throwing Cody Walker in there as a sort of high half forward moving into the midfield. Yep. You got Will Hayward, you got Brody Kemp, Ashton Moyer. There's kind of enough there you can see in this age demographic now that we're kind of building. And that's not to say that there's players that I haven't listed that are still on the list. I'm not saying they're completely done, but they're over 28. So maybe in 2 to 3 years, they may not be there. I kind of wanted to see what it would look like without guys like Wiedering, Harry Mackay, to see if there was enough around them as they'll be in their 30s by this time. And then you look at guys on the fringes: Cottrell, Lord, Evans, Motlop, Chesser, Byrne, O'Keefe, Wilson, Ison, Charlison. Like, it feels like this is that group we're now building around to go forward. So I think that is an exciting thing. And it feels like, every single line there is enough to build around, and everything just feels more balanced. It's the most complementary I feel like each line is, but it's now just building on that, because that's not enough right now. Like, even that team, there's clearly some big gaping holes and some issues. And we don't know if all of them are just going to develop as we imagine they will. So it's about these next couple of years making sure that we build upon that. And I think that's what I'm excited about, because I can see the vision and I can actually buy into it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think an interesting part of that is, like, obviously we have all these names, these individuals, these players, but we always debate how much coaching and game plan affects outcomes. Like, is there a world where we aren't so focused on the individuals in this new era of Carlton, and we actually get better kind of outcomes from maybe, names that aren't as known? Like, I think about these teams like Hawthorn that have been really strong over these last couple of years, where, they've potentially, you get better outputs and outcomes from players where you may think, I don't know if they're that good, but it's Sam Mitchell and the coaching team that get that out of them. Where, I don't know, it's just so hard for me to know what we're going to see with this new game style and plan this year, where I feel like we may exceed expectation. But it's dangerous for me to say that because I'm kind of raising the expectations for myself.
Oh, and we'll get into what the expectation is shortly
scary
as well. But just a couple of quick things. Very short, but we've seen a little bit of Davies and Graham Wright working. What have your thoughts been on those two so far?
For me, there's very little to be negative about so far. From the start, when Wright came in, I've kind of been preaching to myself, like, just got to have faith in him and trust the decisions that he makes. And I feel like he hasn't really put a foot wrong so far.
Yeah, it happens every time you get a new regime coming through. Feels like you become more and more confident, but this has by far been the most confident I've been in any administration. It reminds me of when we had sort of Sayers, Cook, and Voss all together. It felt like this somewhat dream team, but it felt quite performative. Like they had to come out and show you that they were the new team and we're going to make everything happen and turn Carlton around.
Yeah.
This just feels like really smart operators that are experienced, know what they're doing, saying, don't worry about it. We don't need to talk. We don't need to tell you anything. So we're just getting it done. And there's something about that I really respect, and seeing what we have from just like the trade period and how they operate. They get things done. They act swiftly. I think it's hard to be anything but confident in these lads so far.
Definitely. Maybe the one point that maybe others would say is those that were just really fed up with Voss and would have taken any other coach. But again, I'm trying to have faith in them on that too.
I think that's where I'm at. As soon as they made the call, it's like, well, I've been talking about all last year, trust Graham Wright, whatever he says, I'll agree with. And he said, Vossi another year. Potentially, there just wasn't that coach that they wanted available. They thought, it's Vossi or someone I don't love. We'll keep Vossi for 1 year, keep a bit of that stability while everything else changes. But speaking of things maybe not changing, we have re-signed Sammy Walsh. It's been the big contract news of the last week or so. A very long-term deal. What were your thoughts when the contract was signed?
Yeah, lots of thoughts. I mean, I was definitely happy when I got that text from you saying that it happened, which is great. I feel like people always forget that they're like what a contract is. A contract isn't just like a sentence that says Sam Walsh, this many dollars, this many years.
Yeah.
Like there's so many nuances to what actually go into that. Whether there's things around, injury and games played, his performance in general. Is he going to be the captain? Is it front loaded? All these elements that people just want to look at and go, this is bad because he's going to break down. And I don't think he will. So I think he'll be a future captain. And I'm very glad that he's going to be a part of the team for all that period of time. But who's to say that he doesn't get traded within contract as well? Because that happens too.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I forgot to write this down, so apologies, but I've seen some stats floating around about Sam Walsh's injuries and the actual game time that in games he has missed over the past few seasons, and it is almost minuscule. He's not actually missed that much footy at all. I think his injuries have just come at a really bad time where it's been those pre-season injuries, so he sort of loses that conditioning and then misses the first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, and then that's it. I think the injury stuff has kind of been so overdone, and I get it. His last incredible season was quite some time ago when he finished sort of top 3 in the Brownlow, but won a Gary Ayres medal in 2023. That's not that long ago. We've seen already just in the preseason, and I'm not getting too ahead of myself, but just the way he was moving, it looks like his body is in good nick.
Yes.
You forget how good this man is. And yeah, it's a long time till 2034, but I think when you look at it, we have to do it. If we didn't, someone else would have. And we have the cap space to do it at the moment, so it's not as much as a risk. You need to lock down your stars. After losing a few of them, what does the club look like if we lose another? Absolute rabble. You then can't bring anyone in.
Yep.
It's just a ridiculous scenario. And long contracts can be a good thing, like you mentioned. See Charlie Curnow. If a player wants to leave, if anything happens, all of a sudden we've got the bargaining power. We can ask for those 3 first-round draft picks instead of maybe getting one back. So that's sometimes good. If he gets injured and he has all these issues, you can pay him out. You come to a conclusion. It's not that bad. And yeah, I think the deal, obviously, the issue there is it is long and it looks crazy with the wage, but you also don't know, like you were saying at the start of this, what the contract actually specifies. There's a potential that his wages aren't increasing with the percentage increase of AFL salaries over the longevity of that contract, which if that's the case, all of a sudden it's a massive team-friendly contract and it looks great because we're not going to have to pay him an extra $1 million when the salary cap increases over that time till 2034. So, yeah, for me, what's the alternative there? Option A, we sign him, beautiful. We've got him on big money till 2034. Option B is we offer him less, he leaves. Which one do you want out of that?
Yeah.
The media blowback was bad when we signed him. Imagine what it would have been like if we didn't sign him. I just think it's ridiculous. You need to sign Sam Walsh. Yeah, we would have liked to maybe not be that long-term. That's footy these days. Everyone's getting signed to long-term deals. I don't think it's that big of a deal in my eyes.
And I think this last reason I'm going to say, or these last 2 reasons, are the least important out of what you said. But I also think that this galvanizes the group heading into this season. Like, it seems like he's a liked player. You know, you want your leaders committing long term. And also, thank fuck, it's not going to be a talking point.
Yeah. It was tough with TDK all year.
Oh my God.
And then how
annoying was it?
As soon as the form starts to drop away, there's another discussion. You just think about what that does in the change room as well. Just a culture piece. It's massive.
So if we can now not have that, you know, being a potential vibe detractor, I think even though this is very short-term thinking, I think that's also a positive. So there's many positives for this.
And seeing someone who is such a leader of this footy club, such a big star for us, after having some players not want to be there, almost not even question it and just re-sign immediately, coming out and saying that he never really even talked to anyone else. He just wanted to get this done. It happened quickly before the season. That's an exciting message to then sell to the rest of the players that, like, I was never going anywhere. Let's just keep rolling. Now, all of a sudden, other players around him that might be in similar situations will say, with Walsh's re-signing, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And that's what you need. But looking at more the present and a little bit into the future as well, we have had some footy. We've had 2 preseason games. Now, the lid is off for a lot of people, Lockie, so I'm interested to get your thoughts. We've had a few big preseasons back in the day. We've had a Wizard Cup. We've had a NAB Cup. Is this another one of those? What did you kind of take out of those 2 preseason hit-outs?
The lids were definitely off then. I'm really trying to keep it on, genuinely, because the vibes were really good at Icon, especially on Wednesday. Yeah, I know. I am too. I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but this is what I want to be as a fan. I want to be overly optimistic and positive because that's when I get the most enjoyment. But I guess my biggest takeaway was it was just genuinely noticeably different how we were playing. You could see the players thinking in a different way. And Jagger is going to be our best player, and he might already be because he's so unique in our team.
Yeah, I was surprised at how much time and space he creates for himself. He's just his ability to take, like you would see it in his sort of under 18s games, but it's so different playing against 18-year-olds than playing against actual adults in the AFL. And I know it's only a preseason game, but that's just a trait and a quality that he has that I'm excited to see. If he's able to do that in our midfield that often doesn't look like it has time and space, not only is that going to help him and the way that he's operating, but it gives time and space to others around him. And it does feel like he is a bit of a missing piece. And whenever Carlton supporter was saying, oh my God, he's done his ACL, he's out for the season last year, this has ruined the tour. I think, opposition fans were being like, what do you mean he hasn't played a game of footy? And he
Yes.
still hasn't played a game of footy, but I think you can understand just off the back of what he has shown why it was such a loss last year. And I think the plan that our midfield was trying to take it. And look, let's be honest though, talking about the preseason, in 3 weeks' time, no one is going to care or remember what happened in these 2 hitouts against Brisbane and Geelong. So, look, I think in preseason, and I've done this in the past, you can look at every single facet. You can look at the game plan, player form, who we beat, anything you want. Try to look into it all and project it out and say, we've beaten this team and they won the flag last year, so that must mean we're good, all of this. In the end, I just am worried about the actual season, and that's not what I'm taking out of the preseason. The preseason for me is about 3 things. It is about no injuries in those games, which it looks like, touch wood, that has happened. There has not been an injury out of those 2 games. 2, you want to see all the new toys play well. And I think you saw Hayward, Ainsworth, Florent, Dean, Jagger burn out of nowhere as well. You've seen sparks from these players to get you excited, to think, okay, there is some change, there is something different, and it's performing. And that's a big thing for me. And then the last point is just, and it's the most important takeaway from preseason, you need something to get you excited about opening round, about round 1, that start of the season. Last year was kind of a shambles. We had Sayers dick pic, we had Jagger ACL. It was just
Newman.
There was so many little niggles leading to that. You had Charlie Kerner with his ankle. It just felt like the vibes were so low heading into round 1, and then you lose that game in the most disastrous fashion, and the whole season is ruined. Whereas this time, vibes are high. You're excited about all the new players. You're excited about the change. You win a couple of games, and that was exactly what this football club and fan base just desperately needed heading into this season. When last year felt so grim, we've lost Charlie, we've lost De Koning, we've lost Sauce, everything's so negative. For there to be so much positivity now, I don't think anyone's genuinely getting ahead of themselves and changing their expectations a ridiculous amount heading into this season. I think most still have us around that same place, but it's just that vibes factor. And that's what you need. You want to be optimistic about your team, thinking anything's possible headed into a season. That's what being a fan is all about. You want to think maybe we're a chance, maybe we can do something this season, win a final, who knows? And I think that's what the preseason did. It's made me excited about opening round, whereas before those 2 games, I was nowhere near this pumped. And now I can't wait to watch some footy. And that's what you want out of those games.
I agree. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I think it's just gotten me, even more ready for Thursday.
So expectations for 2026, Lockie. What are your expectations heading into the season?
Well, like I said, I feel like for me, they have been gradually rising, and I'm trying to not let that happen, because we know that the secret to life is low expectations, so that you're never disappointed. So I am trying to think in that way, but I am expecting us to look different.
Yeah,
I think that the thing that would disappoint me the most is if what I saw in these couple of preseasons game was a complete mirage, and we are just the exact same style of team as last year. I think that would be really poor. So I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting different.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see. Obviously, you could see the ball movement was something that they've focused in on. It looked different. That forward 50 was moving a lot different leads, different space. And it's difficult to know how that translates once there is real in-season pressure.
Very.
Do they revert back to type like we've seen as soon as the pressure's there? Who knows? But as far as my expectations of this season, I'm kind of in a see what happens kind of mode. And I know that's maybe a bit fence-sitting to a degree.
No,
I've got us finishing in that sort of 10 to 12 range. That's where I see it. And for me, it's kind of about those next seasons past that is the thing that I'm sort of looking towards, and what this season can do to build towards that.
You said 10 to 12. Is that
10 to 12 is the latter range I kind of see us at this stage. I think there's scope to, like, the ceiling for me, it wouldn't surprise me if everything goes right. We don't get any injuries, players, the chemistry's there, everything's forming, and we finish in that top 6 or that bottom edge of the finals, in that top 8, win a final and have a decent year. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Like we've seen in 2023, stars align, you can go on a run. But it also, the other end, I could see us finishing bottom 4 and it all just falling out. The Vossi coaching thing disappears. He's just as bad as he's ever been. Because it's his last year, the players don't play for him and it just completely ends in a shit show. But I can't have us in the middle range of that at the moment. I think that's where we are. I've tried to objectively look at the teams around us, and I think most teams that I have above us on the ladder have gotten better in the offseason, clearly improved upon themselves, or they haven't fallen off enough, and we're kind of in that middle bit where it's such an unknown for us. So, yeah, my expectations are 10 to 12, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's higher or if it is lower.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, I don't remember a season where, like you said before, there was such a big gap between ceiling and floor. Like, I've felt that for months now. To be honest, I can't see this. I mean, this is the worst thing that you can say, like, on a podcast.
Is this Mick Malthouse can't see us losing another game for the season?
The opposite. I cannot see a world where we finish bottom 4. Just with the caliber of those teams, I think... Yeah, I just cannot imagine that.
I think in the back of my mind, as much as I try to be positive about this season, I just remember us losing to Richmond, losing to North Melbourne in embarrassing fashion last year and thinking...
Yeah, it was bad.
It can get really bad. Now, I think I agree with you where I feel like we've fixed some of those issues where hopefully it doesn't get to that degree, but just knowing it's Vossi's last contracted year, things can happen in a coach's final year where the players go, this isn't the vision anymore. I don't agree with this coach. We know his time's up.
Yeah.
And they just sort of coast to the end of the year and it all falls away.
Totally. I think I don't know. The way that I'm trying to think about it is the less expectations for this year, the better. And let's just see what happens.
Yeah. So what does success look like for you then in 2026? If we were continuing with the podcast and we're going to ask this question at the season review episode to see whether it was a pass or a fail, what is that success?
That has to be the hardest question on this run sheet. I really don't think, and maybe you're going to do this, I don't think that I can do a win-loss or a ladder position thing for this.
Yeah.
I think it really is going to be...
I'll just delete that from my run.
Yeah. And this is where I'm going to contradict myself because I think it's going to be a vibe thing.
Yeah.
But also, I think that vibe is going to be so linked at the end of the season with our position and win-loss, right? Maybe you disagree, but I don't know if we can finish top 8 with bad vibes or have good vibes and be in the bottom 6 or 7.
It's really difficult to quantify. It's one I've struggled with answering this question. I think
really
the way
hard.
I've looked at it is obviously finals. And when I say finals, I'm saying top 8. I still don't classify wildcard at the moment as true finals.
Yeah,
I'm kind of taking that out of it at the moment just for clarity's sake. So I think top 8 finals is clearly a win. That's a success. But this year, I'm not necessarily looking at that. It's about growth. It's about game plan growth. It's about ball movement, the mid-forward connection, better scoring, better efficiency inside 50. If all those little things are improving and I'm believing in the plan, I'm believing in what I'm seeing out there, that's a success for me because I see this as such a transitional year, list-wise, game plan-wise, everything. So, yeah, it feels really weird to try and put a win-loss on it, whether it's a wild card game. Do we have to win the wild card? Is that what it is? I think it's as dumb as if we beat the teams we're meant to beat, if we challenge the teams above us and show enough optimism for 2027, which I hate in a way because you don't want to just throw out a complete season in thinking it might get better because we've seen sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just keeps getting worse. But
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at this stage. I just need to see enough from this season. Like you're saying, it is kind of vibes in that way where I'm as optimistic as I feel now, if not more, come the end of the season.
Right.
That's the success.
I agree.
And I think that probably would mean that we're at least in the wild card, that we've probably won that or won a final, but it's just so hard to know until you get into that space.
I agree. I don't think there's a world where we are this optimistic if we win less games.
Yeah.
Because how could that how can those two things be?
What have we
equal?
seen in those losses that somehow fill you with excitement? Because we've been there, we've been through the honourable losses, and we don't really want to do that again.
Exactly. I wonder where. I mean, I'll let you transition to Vossi, because that's where I was going to go.
Because this is the big question, and it ties in well. What needs to happen for Michael Voss to be our coach and be re-signed 2027 and beyond? Because it's not just in isolation. You're re-signing him; he gets another year. This is, if you re-sign Michael Voss, he's there for the next 3 to 4 years. You cannot re-sign him for 1 to 2.
You don't think 2?
I don't think you can. I think if you're saying 2, then you're not believing in him, so bring in someone else. If you're re-signing a coach, you're saying the next 3 to 5 year window, you're our man. Otherwise, why are you bothering re-signing him at all? Why would you just re-sign someone for 2 years? That feels... it feels icky. I don't know. There's just something about that it feels like you're non-committal.
Okay.
Unless, like, the only time you commit someone for another 2 years is if they've been there, done it. Now they're at the back end of their coaching career and you're being like, let's just reassess in 2 years to see if you still want to do this.
Yeah.
He's been there long enough now. He's either our coach or he's not.
Well, it is crazy to think that this is season 5.
Yeah.
That feels like it's gone so quick. I want to try and give you the right hypothetical. Like, let's say that we finish 8th.
Yeah.
And the game plan's evolved. And it's like, wow, we've had probably a better season than we expected, but not shooting the lights out. Like, we're not top 4 by any means. You think 3 or 4 then?
I think 3 is the minimum you have to re-sign in my mind.
Yeah, okay.
And now I'll leave that decision to Graham Wright and Davies. They can
show me the
make
contract.
That. But I think it has to be 3. I think 2 just doesn't seem right to me. It feels like, even though we'd re-sign him, it'd feel like what they came out and said at the end of last year, where it was, we're guaranteeing his contract to the start of 2026. You're like, what does that mean? Does that mean you're firing him on his first day? Like, it just doesn't feel like you're really committing to the man.
I get it. We're debating a small thing here. I think 2 years feels very different to 1. Like, if we finished 8 and they gave him a 4-year deal or a 3-year, I'd be like, well, are we that sure? But if they did 1, I'd be like, well, come on, give the guy. That's where I'd be like, 2 feels like a good. But anyway, it's so freaking hard to know what this means for him.
Yeah.
There's been so much change this offseason, and he is something that hasn't changed.
Yes.
So if the vibes are lower at the end of this year than they are now, it has to be him. What else can change? Captain?
I don't think that is that big of a thing.
Same.
There's nothing else.
So it's kind of got to be him if we don't at least hit those kind of expectations.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I've got written down. I think we've got to make finals as a starting point. And again, I'm not sure if wild card counts. I think it has to be top 8 to like really guarantee, yes, we're committing to Voss. And I think beyond that, it's more about everything else. Do we see the game plan that we trust, that we know that works? Is it adaptable? Is he able to adapt in game like we haven't really been able to see him so far? Feels like when something goes wrong, it just keeps going wrong, and it's not till another 2 to 3 weeks before you start to see things evolve for us. Can we do it consistently? Can we effectively move the ball? Can we defend as a team? If we see changes in all of these areas in the positive, I think that's when I'd be happy to re-sign him. But basically what I'm asking for is every single thing that we have asked from the time he started till now, for him to fix and improve, we need to see that in 1 season. And I just don't know if he can do that because he's been there since 2022.
Yep.
I'm not confident that he can fix those things because we've wasted this amount of years since day 1, season 1 of the podcast, asking the same questions: ball movement, being able to defend, being able to adapt, being able to strategically coach. Game plan hasn't been there. So yeah, I'm not as optimistic. I hope he can do it. I'd love nothing more than Michael Voss to be the man, but I just cannot see him being the coach in 2027 unless we have the most miraculous season.
Yeah. But and as is the case, the last time that we recorded, it's going to take somebody that our administration thinks will be better long term than him.
Yeah.
Being available and wanting to do it. So I don't know. Let's see who is going to be kind of out there come the end of this season to even take on the job.
Could be Adrian Hickmont. I think that's the one. That's the name that was floated around near the end of last year. So if he again is able to continue developing as that sort of assistant coach, but it's hard. We're at that end of the run of we've just had all that group of assistant coaches. Now they're senior coaches. We don't know who that next crop is, and no one's really put their hand up, which is maybe, God, do we do another 1 year re-signing of Voss just to keep going? It's going to be interesting, and I think that's where you just got to back in Davies and Wright into making that right decision.
I really don't see a scenario where he gets 1 year.
I can't.
Like, really, I just can't imagine, or at least I can't imagine a scenario where that happens and we go there.
Yeah. You can't sell that to the members.
Yeah,
you can't. But so we've spoken a bit about it, but just as a short point, what's your biggest concern going into 2026?
The first thing that I wrote down thinking about this is the speculation that will ensue if we do start poorly.
Yeah.
I just am so worried. I just don't want to be in that position where we have to have that.
If we're 0-5, does he get the sack straight away? He probably has to. We can't do another season where it happens and we're like, it'll come good again. It's been like 6 years now, Vossi, let's go. I just don't think he can.
No.
Yeah. I think
that's my biggest concern.
I had my biggest concern is just coaching because it's the main thing that's been there the whole time. And then just key position depth, as I think we touched on really early. It's just, it's slightly concerning. If there's an injury to a Wiedering, a Harry, we've got nothing else. It's needing our depth players to take a massive leap. It's possible, but it's just asking a lot that I'm concerned about. But
yes,
we hate negatives on this podcast. We're an optimistic bunch. Biggest positive going into 2026. I just had to get that one out of the way.
You know what's so strange? I'm obviously so positive and optimistic. I didn't write anything down.
So you've just got none. That's great to know.
I don't know how to put,
into words. Great for a podcast. Luckily, we're ending this just as you've forgotten how to speak.
Exactly. There's so much, there's so much that I'm optimistic about, but it's about individuals. It's about the game style. It's all these things that are hypothetical and may not actually come true.
I think in a roundabout way, we've got the exact same thing because I've written actually down a coherent sentence, which might actually help you a little bit.
I've said, let's see if it's coherent.
The feeling that anything could happen, fresh players, a new look forward line that is unrecognizable to anything we've seen in the Voss era. It is the vibes around the place that is the thing that has me so positive going into this year. Like we said, the ceiling's high. Weirdly, the floor's really low and concerning, but just anything can happen right now. And that is the most exciting thing and the positive outlook.
It didn't feel like that 12 months ago.
No.
That anything could happen.
I'm excited. Who knows what's going to happen? So speaking about what we're excited about in this season, do you have any just key one-liners of the thing that you're most excited about?
Yeah, well, obviously it's Jagger.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean, we talked about him already, but I think he individually, this is why I'm just trying not to get the expectations too high, right? Keep a lid on it and all that kind of thing. But I'm going to let the lid off. I think I'm just so excited about what he can do individually and how he can make others better too.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like the kind of player where he's going to be able to get the guys like Walsh into more space. We saw how he was doing those little pinpoint kicks in this game. Like, is he going to make other players around him look better? Like, I guess if you took him away, that would be the biggest detractor to my optimism. Yeah. If that's a good way to put it. So, like, he's kind of the biggest reason why I'm so positive.
Yeah, I think I'm very similar. Like, I'm looking at the other newbies and just that forward line is kind of making me excited just to see what it could be. And just the potential goal kickers. Now, I know I've done this a fair few times. Listeners will know of this one, that in my big season predictions, I end up going this ridiculous X amount of players will kick X amount of goals between them. I'm not going to do that this year. It's failed too many times. I can't do it. But I just want to show some evidence of just what could be exciting about this forward line. It's my way I get it in there because the question is, where are the goals coming from? Harry Mackay kicked 22 goals last year, missed 11 games. That's the thing that needs to get factored into this. Kicked 58 goals the last time we didn't have Charlie Curnow out there. Was a while ago, so I don't know if you can really use that stat, but it just shows when he's the key man, he does perform. We saw that at the end of last season. Cripps kicked 14 goals last year. He could potentially play forward a little bit more this season. Does that go up at all?
Yep.
You've got Evans, who kicked 13 goals, 11 of them in the last 4 games. Now, can Frank the Tank continue that form? He's got the greatest goggles of all time. I know that was for an eye injury, but can we all agree that he has to keep those on? They look unbelievable. We make fun of Mason Cox and his really dumb-looking goggles, but Frank the Tank, he looks slick. And I don't know if he can continue that kind of crazy form, but I can back him in to kick more than 13. So that's just another goal-kicking option.
Can I ask you on that? Yep. I just have to know.
He kicked one from the center square, Lockie.
He did. Do you think, honestly, it's more likely that he now becomes someone that is at least a staple in our team for the foreseeable future, or that this is going to be something that we talk about in 10 years? It's like, remember those 4 games. What do you think is genuinely more likely? I'm actually interested.
I think it's somewhere in the middle where, like...
Which is more likely?
I don't like, because I just don't agree with either. I don't think he's going to become this absolute standout player that is in our team for the next 10 years. I think he's going to be an adequate small for the next 2 seasons, kicking 15 to maybe 20 goals, and then that might be it. Someone else might come along. Okay. I kind of see him as a bridging the gap player. I'd love it for this form to continue and he becomes the greatest small forward ever. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's closer to the flesh in the pan, but I have a little bit more faith that he can be a nice role player while we find that actual next small forward.
Okay.
Is that nice and
that's an ultimate fence sit.
Well, we need one for the last episode.
Yeah, we do. I've probably got a couple coming.
You got Ashton Moyer, 10 goals, 9 goals in the last 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's another guy that you're expecting to probably kick a few more. Kemp kicked 7 goals, 7 in the first 3 games of the season before the injury. You're expecting him to kick more than that. Who knows what could happen? I'm not as bullish on him.
Really?
I feel like I've always been a not 100% on Brody Kemp's sort of bandwagon. I'm excited to see him.
Interesting.
But I'm probably higher on other guys. But I expect more than 7 goals. Hayward kicked 29 last year for Sydney. Ainsworth 23 for Gold Coast. They are more goals than I expected out of both of those two when I looked at the stats. So all of a sudden, there are guys that can kick 20 goals a season. I'm actually quite bullish on how that forward line could function. And, you know, you stop Will Hayward, but it looks like there could be other guys that step up. And that's honestly always been our biggest issue.
Yeah.
I still worry about that actual small forward. I still don't think we have that. We've got a lot of dynamic players, but not that traditional elite small. Burn. But could it be Taylor Byrne? Who knows? He looked good in the preseason.
Yeah, you've excluded him from this. Yeah.
But there's options, and that's kind of what excites me going into the season is just you stop one, because previously you stopped Harry. Well, it's easier to manhandle Charlie, and no one's kicking goals. All of a sudden, there's options out there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't think us having a big spread of players that all have a decent tally is a bad thing. Yeah. And I think that is what's going to happen.
If that means Harry doesn't kick 58, but he kicks 30, but everyone's kicking 30 goals, I'd be almost happy with that.
Same.
So let's get into the hot takes predictions, because I'm not doing that big goal one again. I just can't do it. Maybe I'll put it up on Twitter if I can end up thinking about it, so it's not as written in stone. But hot takes. This has been the biggest part of this podcast.
I didn't write it down.
You didn't write it down?
No, they're gonna come to.
Well, I'm gonna need some from you. What are your big ambitious hot takes for 2026? And if you're listening, watching this right now, drop them in the comments if you're on YouTube. I feel like I've lost my touch. It's been silent in between drinks. I haven't said to comment anything down below, but make sure anything you've thought this season, drop it down there for one last time, if anything. Or
we need the engagement.
Hit us up on the socials at Navy Blue Corner. Links are in the description and the show notes. Probably the last time I'll ever need to say that because the podcast will be dead. But hot takes, Lockie, what do you have for me?
So I didn't write this down, but I was thinking about this and trying to temper where I put this.
Jagger Smith-Brown, though, isn't it?
It is Jagger Smith related. I just can't go so far as to say that he'll win the best and fairest, but I think he'll be second.
Yeah.
Is that hot? I think it's got to be hot, right? He's a first-year player.
I do love the thing going around of people putting money on Jagger Smith to win a Brownlow before Nick Dacos. I think that's hilarious, and it'd be so funny if it ends up happening. But yeah, it's so hard to temper expectations on this man when everything I've seen of him tells me he's the greatest player I've ever seen play footy.
Anybody else that I think about them winning the John Nichols this year, I can think of a bunch of reasons why they wouldn't. And the one reason that I can think of for him is that it's his first season. Yeah. And is that even a valid reason? Like,
it's the way he plays. Like, I think that we're getting ahead of ourselves, of course, and it's fun to do it, and that's why we're doing it. But he's that player that his touches look impressive because of how he plays, which gets the eye, which gets those votes, which is why we're so bullish on him in these sorts of things.
Like, I'm not expecting Cripps to have a best and fairest season. Hewitt. Chera's already missing games. Walsh is the obvious one. I'm going to pick him. Yeah. He's my one. But then it's like, who else are we expecting? Yeah. You got to be healthy to be up there. Like, the guys that were up there last year was like Haynes.
Hewitt obviously took it out.
Yeah. Like, these are guys that played, I don't even know if either of them missed a game. Like, and I'm really optimistic that Jagger will be healthy. Yeah.
It's the way
that's my hot take.
Yeah. It's the way he gets other people involved. You saw his penetrative kicking throughout those preseason games and what he was able to just open up for us. If he can do that consistently throughout an entire year, I think impact-wise, it wouldn't shock me because of the caliber of the hype that is coming in. It feels crazy to say, but I don't think it's the wildest take I've ever seen.
Okay, good.
I like it.
I think non-Carlton fans might think that's
hot for
crazy.
us, and we're allowed to be hot. That's the point of hot takes. I don't think we've ever got any of these correct.
Probably not. But that's the point. Like, so Walsh was 4th in his first season.
Yeah. Who was above him?
Cripps, Ed Curnow, and Plowman.
Okay. So you've got basically like Nick Haynes or like a Nick Newman and George Hewitt would be above him right now in that pecking order. And Cripps/Walsh.
And I'm optimistic that Jagger can have a more impactful first season than Walsh, which is a high bar.
But he's had that. I know he's been injured, but he had that extra year to develop the body and those sorts of things. You never know what that does. Look at a Will.
There you go.
I like that. I've got 3 hot takes.
Go on.
Ben Ainsworth becomes our most important player. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that there's a very real chance that this is the best season of his career. He's never kicked more than 30. Yeah. You could see him kicking 30.
I wasn't even thinking about goals when I was thinking about this, to be honest. I wasn't going to put a number on it. I was more thinking we have not had that high half forward, that mid forward connector. I was re-listening to some podcasts that we did when we started this, and we were thinking that could be a David Cunningham. He needs a shout out in the last ever pod because we were number 1 and 2 in the David Cunningham shares. But
true.
What we wanted him to be is basically what Ben Ainsworth is. And knowing that we've never really had that player in this era, they're becoming more and more important. You look at Geelong with a guy like Brian Myers when he pushes up the ground and is able to impact. Knowing we've never had it, we finally have it. I feel like we're going to notice the difference of a Ben Ainsworth. If he misses a week through a suspension or maybe he's got a little bit of a tight calf and we're just managing him for 1 week, I think you're going to notice the difference of the style of player and what he does in bringing those around him, his leading patterns, the space he creates in behind. That's why I've got him as becoming one of our most important players, if not our most important player.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily him being our best player. It's the impact he has around him.
And he has notoriously been one of your favourite non-Carlton
players. I do have
so you are biased.
A Gold Coast Ben Ainsworth badge.
Is that in here?
I would be able to find it. I just need to look in my closet. But I don't own any Carlton player badges, but I do have a Benny Ainsworth badge. So if you've got another hot take, I will find this badge for you.
Yeah, please do. I mean, I did, in thinking about breakout players, I did write Ainsworth to have his best season, ? So I am with you on that. Oh my God.
The great man.
It's true.
Benny Ainsworth. Drink it in.
Chuck that on your Carlton.
It will. And I'll need to get a Benny Ainsworth Carlton badge. And it'll basically just be a shrine to Ben Ainsworth.
It's really good. It's really good. I see another badge on there.
There's a couple.
There's 2 Ben Ainsworth badges.
There's 12 Ben Ainsworth. I've gone every year since he's been at the club.
That's
big
strong.
BA man.
That's strong.
So you like that take? It's quite hot.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I really do think that he could have his best season and be great, but there's no way that he's more important than Jagger.
Fair enough. Well, I've got one that probably will happen, and it's going to be a bit depressing, but we like a bit of negativity in this hot take, maybe delisting a bloke. I think last year I finally got a hot take right saying Jack Silvani will not be on our list next season, which I think came true.
I think I said
that's
Kemp
huge.
Wouldn't be. Yeah.
So that's good, but I've got Zach Williams and Adam Sard will not be in our best 23 by year's end.
Wow. I don't think that's that hot.
Yeah, that was my issue. I didn't think it was too hot. Like when I was doing my best 23, which we'll get into shortly, I was struggling to put both of them in there. And when I was looking at players coming through as well, like a Matt Carroll, who, spoiler, is not in my current team.
Same.
I can see a world where he's in there next year and one of them isn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think they're on that decline and they both need really big seasons. Zach Williams really good last year, but in a different role. He's moved back to defense, where I think there's a lot more competition at the moment. A couple of bad games and someone's going to take that spot.
So both are out of contract?
Ooh, yes.
Would you go so far as to say
one's getting a spot, the other isn't? I think Zach Williams resigns. I think Sard retires.
I think Williams is more likely.
Yeah. I think there's been a bit of a drop-off with Sard, whereas Williams has probably shown enough over the last couple of years. I want both to stay. I want them both to prosper.
Me too.
But I just need to see something tangible this year. My last hot take.
Get hot.
I'll go really hot. Frank the Tank is our second highest leading goal scorer this year. Why not? Why not believe in the man with the greatest goggles I've ever seen?
And that's why I was so annoyed with your fence sit before. Because I wouldn't fence sit. And I actually think it is more likely that Frank now
keeps one from the center square like it was nothing.
I think that he will now have a full career with us as being a generally best 23 player. And I don't think that we're going to think back to this time as crazy. That's what I think.
He doesn't need to do anything and we already love him. Like he is just so beloved now. He's become the cult figure. He could do a normal handball and I'll act like it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. I love him so much.
Can you insert a clip of us talking about him in April last year?
Where it was like, shouldn't be on the list.
I just couldn't fathom how he was getting a game.
He looked like he shouldn't be out there. And that's the fun thing about podcasting, and the fun thing about it is like your takes develop, and it's all about being happy to admit when you're wrong. Like I've been wrong about so many things, but the thing is, like I want to be wrong because it means we're better. It means we win. And Frank the Tank. I don't know what happened from that Stephen May hit, but he's become the greatest player ever.
That was the catalyst, wasn't it?
And now the goggles, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
All Australian to Frank the Tank. Do you have any other random hot takes you've thought of in the time that I've babbled on before we go into breakout star of the year?
I reckon I'm going to come up with one before the end of the episode.
I'll hold you to it. Breakout player, who have you got? I feel like it's Jagger Smith. So can we remove Jagger Smith from this because it's clear he's winning the Brownlow?
I wrote him, obviously, next to number one. I reckon I'm more bullish on Kemp than you.
Yeah, you are.
Like,
I want to be.
In this world,
just concerned.
In this new Carlton world, though, where we are giving it to our forwards on a platter.
Yeah.
Why not him?
Do you want me to give genuine reasons and make you really depressed? Or do we just save that because we're only...
No, go for it.
He's never truly performed for me, down back or down forward. He's had one good game against the Doggies, kicked 5.
Out of how many games forward?
I know. I know. I understand that. But he's played forward previously and not looked great. My issue with Brody Kemp is he misses easy goals from set shots. And I don't know if he can be that guy. I'm more confident on pretty much everyone else in that forward line. Yeah. I think he can be an okay stopgap player for whatever reason, and I don't have great evidence for it. It's just a vibe thing. I don't see him as being that player over the next 3 years that is in that forward line. I'd love him to be. He seems like a great fella. He's dynamic. He can mark the football. He can go down in defense. He's got some things to his game.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's got it at a high enough standard from what I've seen. But we've only seen that forward line at such a small sample size. who knows? Maybe that is him genuinely every single week.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be proven wrong there.
Yeah. Fair. Because of the position that we're in now, like let's say that Charlie had stayed, I would be less bullish on him. Like if he stays healthy, he is going to have so much opportunity this season. I guess that's probably the reason why I'm more bullish. It isn't necessarily even about him, but it's like I do not see him playing twos this season. He's either going to be injured or he's going to be in the team. And if he's in the team, I think he's going to be kicking a couple goals a game.
Do you know what's really funny? Do you want to have a look at my run sheet at one of the 3 players I've written down as my breakout players of the season?
Fucking hell. Well,
I do have Brody Kemp on my list for as much as I've just down-talked him. For all your reasons that you have said. Like, I can see him not doing it, and I don't truly believe he will.
Yeah.
But I can see all the reasons why he has that breakout season, being the second key tool, being dynamic, knowing that defenses could get spread thin a little bit if Hayward takes that step and they go to him instead.
Yeah.
And who knows? He kicks 5 goals in one of those games out of like 3 last season before the injury. Who knows? Maybe that is what he's capable of.
Yeah.
But
cool. Go on.
The obvious one is Taylor Byrne after a couple of glimpses. A guy who genuinely did not have him playing a game this season to all of a sudden, I kind of want to see him debut opening round. Most likely he won't, and it'll take a few games and a bit of the season for him to adjust. But there's just something exciting about the way Taylor Byrne goes about it that I want to see in this team. Hard at the contest, hard at the ball, gets in the right spots, a little bit cheeky, and seems to be able to be pretty efficient in front of goal from the very small preseason sample size. I don't want to get ahead of myself at all, but we've been crying out for a small forward. Who knows? Why not be optimistic and think it could happen?
Totally. Why not be? I'm not going to rain on it.
Did you have anyone else?
I didn't have him written down. I wrote down both Holland's boys.
Yeah. I've got Ollie on my list.
Yeah.
Back on the wing.
I really hope he doesn't play down back.
It looks like he's back on the wing, and that's why I wrote him down here, just because we've seen what he does in that front half so well. He can kick goals. He can set them up. He wants to take the game on every single time he gets the ball, whether he ends up turning it over or not. I think that's the good with the bad you have to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes his decision-making, it's not that I don't think he's a bad kick. I think sometimes he just tries to bite off the wrong option at the wrong time because he's so eager to take that risk.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you need. And on the wing, it excites me a lot more than off halfback. I think he can really be an important key figure for us.
Yeah, I think he can too, and I agree about the decision making. Yeah. Like I think back to the first goal from the game on the weekend, which he kicks into the forward line and Hayward gets it. Like I can't remember who it was, but he had someone leading with the short pass.
It was the worst option to do in that moment,
and it was like, brother, this is like our whole thing now is like lowering the eyes, and so if he can fix that, I think I've got him. The only other one that we haven't mentioned is Moya. I think there's just something about him where he looks more mature now than he did 12 months ago. Like, obviously, as he develops, there's something there. And I feel like he could emerge.
I love Ashton Moya, so I'd love to see that happen. Ladder position, where do you have us?
I've said 7th.
Yeah, I've got us 12th. So we are a little bit different in there.
Have you? I've done a full ladder. Like
I did somewhere. Let me give my laptop back Wi-Fi and I will find this spreadsheet somewhere.
But this is the thing with this, like 7 to 12th could be 2 games. And that could be 2 games decided under a goal. So it's, I don't know. I just want you to make a case for the teams that I've got below us, that why you think that they're better. And why you're not being more positive.
Yeah, so
Giants aren't finishing above us.
So I have St Kilda above us at the moment, which is one I can see easily us being above. Yeah. I don't truly think they've improved that much, but I think that they've improved, whereas I'm not sure
I think they'll be below us.
GWS, a lot of injuries. So it would not surprise me. This is the thing. This is why I've got us in that 12 to 10 range.
So we've actually got St Kilda in the same spot.
Because those are the 2 teams I can see kind of drop out. Collingwood's the one that could be genuinely anything this season.
Look how aligned we are.
Oh, this is really good. We'll go through it in a second. But yeah, I've got Collingwood in at 9th. I think they drop off a little bit. I don't think they've improved their lineup. I think Myercheck out is a massive loss that they don't see coming. I'm not sure they've replaced anyone on that forward line. They're getting a bit older.
Yep.
Also, really wouldn't surprise me if they have that season where it's the last hurrah of all of them, like Geelong, and they go on and almost win the flag
That was
because
last
of it.
year. That was last year.
I don't know. I think they drop off, and that's kind of their limit. I think they're good enough with the experience to just be there, and with Nick Dacos to just get them. Hawthorn, I think, have not improved. I think their midfield is concerning me a lot. They needed Merritt in there. They then lose Warple. I just don't know where that, with Will Day's injury as well, I just think they just sit there in the 8th.
Yep.
Doggies, they've got a decent list. I don't know where to range them. So I've got them 7th at that sort of bottom part. Geelong, I don't think you need to say too much on them. They're good, but I just think they'll have a bit of a drop-off after their grand final loss. Sydney, I think, are better. They're kind of the better of that bunch, so I've got them in 5th. Freo, I think, are good. So they're 4th. Gold Coast, Adelaide, Brisbane are kind of my top 3. Put them in any order you want. I think they're the standout 3 for me. I just think Adelaide with those home games, I don't necessarily rate them ridiculously high, but they will just find a way to be in that top 3 through the home and away and then bottle it again in finals.
It's just so fitting that in the last episode, we're just aligned on everything as we have been for 6 years. Boring podcasting. Yeah, there's obviously one big difference, which is Adelaide. I've got Adelaide 9th. I think with the injuries that they've got mounting at the moment. And I think with what happened last season, it's just so stereotypical now that they drop off with the way that they exited finals. Like, no one expected them to be top of the ladder. I think that they'll be good long term, but I think that they'll drop back.
That makes sense.
I've also,
Why do you have, because you've got us 7th on your ladder there. Why do you have us above teams like the Doggies, Adelaide, Collingwood, St Kilda, GWS? Because that's probably the discrepancy here. So make the argument. For sure. Because I want to get optimistic, and I'm sure the listeners and viewers want to be as well.
Well, I think our arguments are basically the same with all of them. I think St Kilda, it's overblown how much that they've improved. I actually don't really think they will improve that much. Collingwood, like I said, I think that last season was that last hurrah for them. I think the gap between Nick Dacos and the rest of the players is going to grow even further.
Not a lot of youngsters coming through is the big concern there as well.
Totally. And I think all their older players are just going to get worse. But I still think that they'll finish 10th and make it in there. I've already given my reasons on Adelaide. And then, Bulldogs. I don't know. Just always a team that I'm never that bullish on. I think, I've got Sam Darcy for the Coleman. I think that he's incredible. But, I just don't see them taking a big step either.
They're a good team, but they just always find a way to not be as good as they probably should be.
Yeah.
That's Bevo.
And the Giants, I'm with Tom Green and just everything. I'm just down on them as well. Oliver, I don't think that's going to go well. Yeah.
That premiership, who wins it this year?
I think it'll be a 3-peat.
Yeah. I think I've weirdly got Gold Coast just because I didn't want to write Brisbane, but it probably is Brisbane. I'm hoping maybe some off-season has destabilised them a little bit with a little bit of the who knows what is going on at that football club and them not being able to stay with their partners. Seems to be a trend, but I like Gold Coast, so why not give it to someone else that's not Brisbane, really? But I think it is Brisbane.
It's just so unfair that they
won a flag and they've gotten better.
And they're young players.
Yeah.
It's like
another year of Will, another year of Levi, Annabelle in,
Fletcher,
Draper and Oscar Allen bring them straight in. I know there's the injuries. Who knows what they could be, but
Gallup out of nowhere.
They're better having them on the list than not. It's just not fair. Yeah. Wooden Spoon.
I actually think it's going to be Richmond. Yeah.
I almost put Richmond down.
I think they overperformed last year. They're not going to beat us this season.
Well, the only reason I didn't put them down was I didn't want the karma of them beating us again and me saying it. But I think overall for the season, they're in a spot where they're winning games because of their good older players. And at some stage that drops away.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone keeps saying, they've done this rebuild perfectly. Look at all their young players. They need to develop. And it's so easy on paper drafting them and saying, how good's this? I don't know if they're going to be able to develop them. We struggled to do that. A lot of teams have struggled to do that. Yeah, I think they're dropping away. I actually have North Melbourne as my team, and it pains me to do it because I've been so bullish on them recently and just finally taking that step up. I think I'm seeing the injuries to Wardlaw again, and just something in me sees with the comments of Alistair Clarkson recently that it's just going to capitulate around him.
Yeah, it could, yeah.
They're going to have a new coach by season's end, And that's just going to mean they fall away, unfortunately, again. I just don't know if they're actually improving that list. And yeah, for some reason, I just think West Coast will find a way to win a couple of games and surprise people, which means someone has to drop off. Yeah. And I think because of that coaching factor, I think that's the thing that makes them fall off again. It'll be very sad to see.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to win the spoon, but I do think it'll be Clarkson's last year.
Yeah. Those comments were wild to say.
Yep.
You've said your common medalist is the big man Darcy. I will roll back my Ben King. If I'm saying Gold Coast will win the flag, he's going to be the main goal kicker there. Brownlow, this is interesting. Who have you got?
I just do not see how Nick Dacos doesn't get it this year.
Well,
I know it's too obvious.
Yeah, I have two other players I think will get it. And I don't know who to pick between them, so I'm sitting between both of them. I originally wrote down Zach Butters, mainly because I think he's in contract year. So all of a sudden he's going to perform and want to get all that money he can. He's going to be their only good player in that midfield. I still, Horn Francis is okay. Rosie's down in defense. It's his to win. No one's taking votes off him. So it could be one of those years where they win enough games in a bad team, he just rolls it. The other one is just Naz.
Yeah.
He looks really good again.
I thought about him.
Would not surprise me if now that everyone kind of really knows who he is, he's established. The umpires are scared to not give him the 3 votes after the debacle.
That's a good point.
So he becomes one of those players that they now look for him to make sure in games where he shouldn't get any votes, he gets 1, he gets 2.
Yeah.
And then he ends up winning it because of that.
Yeah, it's valid. That's why I think it's going to be Dacos, though, because I think it's going to be in the minds that he hasn't got one yet. Yeah. And he's always been close. And I just, who else is getting votes in that team?
I understand that. I think it'd just be really funny if he doesn't. Valid. Again, honestly, I'd love it to be Bont. If there was one player I could get the Brownlow to, it'd be that man having not won one at all and been so close. But it's one of the tightest races, I think, this season. So best 23. This is the thing I am very excited to dive into, Lockie. What have you got for me? Who is in your best 23 to start this year? This is an everyone fit best 23. Fit. Drop yours in the comments if you are watching along at home.
Okay, well, I've got for my 3 kind of keys, bigger guys, Wiedering, Haynes, and O'Farrell.
Yep. Wiedering, Haynes, and O'Farrell.
And then for my, 4 other defenders, Florent, Cowan, Sard, and Williams.
Florent, Cowan, Sard, and Williams. Now,
I could probably
no Nick Newman. Is this what I'm seeing here?
That is true. I just do not know what to expect from him yet for me to be confident enough to say that. I think sadly there's a possibility that he's not a best 23 player this year.
Yeah, that's intriguing. Yeah, I am very similar. Obviously, I think at the moment I don't have O'Farrell, and I think I am, even though everyone fit, it's just I know he's injured, so he's just not in my brain at the moment. So I don't have him in there, and I've got Dean in there. And that's literally just me understanding that, I know we'd say it's not about the injuries, but it is in my head. So Harry Dean's in there with Wiedering and Haynes with the tools. Cowan, Florent, Newman. And this is the thing. I've managed to weasel in Sard and Williams. And you'll see this because of the new 23 no sub rule. Basically, Sard's in there, and then Williams is in my team on the bench as like an auxiliary. You can play him forward. You can play him in defense. You can kind of play anywhere. Little pinch hits in the midfield. We know his body, so just maximize him. If where one player is getting more bench time than anyone else, at the moment it's Zach Williams to keep him in there. So
I like it.
So I've got Nick Newman in there. So tell me why you don't have Nick Newman in your best 23.
Yeah, it's obvious. It's just been too long. He's at an age where it's just less predictable to know how he's going to come back. The fact that he didn't play in the ones in the preseason, we'll see if that was, writing on the wall potentially for him not being a best 23 guy. But I wouldn't be shocked if I'm eating these words
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks' time. But right now, I just can't bank on it.
Yeah, it is a tough one, knowing you just don't know what player you're getting back. So I don't mind that and him being that fringe player. Take me through your midfield 6.
So I'm liking the idea of a Hollins on each wing.
Yeah.
So I've gone with that.
It's good balance. I like that.
Right. And then this is where it could get potentially controversial, but I've gone with Cripps, Hewitt, and Walsh as that starting midfield with Jagger and Lord rotating in there.
Yeah.
So no Chera for me.
No Chera. Yeah, that's definitely where we're going to differ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gone Ollie Hollins on one wing, Sammy Walsh on the other, Cripps in the middle, and then Pitternet, Hewitt, and Jagger. And then I do have Adam Chera on my bench. And yeah, Elijah's also on my bench as kind of like a high half forward wing mid-rotation. I think I have gone Chera in the end because I just think at his best, he should be in our best team. And there's enough. I think him being in there, I think he's better than Cooper Lord. And it gives me a bit more faith that a Walsh can go on the wing for time periods there. And I think there's just a bit more versatility. That's kind of what I'm looking at here. I've got Hewitt as my bash and crash, and I just think at the moment Chera's better than Lord, and that's what it kind of came down to. Is it just you're worried about the body?
I'm worried about the body for sure. I mean, of course. I have a feeling he might be the player that struggles to adapt to this new system the most.
Yeah. Okay. Why is that?
It just feels so like, I don't know. It just feels so ingrained in him, this get ball, kick long.
And
I just don't think that is going to work in this team. So I maybe that should have been a hot take that I said. I mean, he's under contract for quite some time, but yeah, I genuinely think that he won't be best 23 come season's end.
That wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. I think if there is one midfielder that has to get injured, gun to your head, that's just he gets shot for some reason. They shoot his foot, can't play for the season. It's probably Chera is the one I'd be picking just because I'd be more excited to see Cooper Lord, and by season's end, I think Cooper Lord can take that jump.
Yeah.
But yeah, just at this stage, I think it's slightly too early to write off Chera because he was pretty decent for us last year. But take me through your forward line.
Big H, of course, with Brody, my man, Will Haywood and Ainsworth across the half forward line. Moya's got to be in there. And I've gone with Fogarty as well.
Interesting.
Mainly from like a balance perspective. When I look at those guys, we know that he's a defensive first kind of forward. So I think it's okay for us to have a guy who maybe isn't a goal first kind of forward. And Frank's got to be in there.
Yeah. Oh, you have to have Frankie in there. I agree. I've gone slightly pretty similar. Haywood, Kemp, Ainsworth, Evans, Mackay, Moya. And then I've got, as I said, Hollins is there on my bench.
Yep.
Zach Williams can kind of play a bit of both. And then I've got Matty Cottrell, surprisingly. Now, I know the man's never healthy, but it feels as if we're trying to be this really dynamic, fast-moving football team, when we play that style of football, he seems to be involved and playing his best. He's kind of like one of those players for me. And yeah, I know you don't exactly know what you're getting from him with all these injuries. He can never stay fit, but just looking at this, I like having guys who can stay a bit closer to goal, like Kemp, Mackay, Moya, Evans, and just having that extra versatility. Like if I'm looking between him and Fogarty, I just don't know what you are. You just kind of run around there and tackle. Is that enough? With Cottrell, can play on the wing, can play high half forward, can kick goals, can kind of do a bit of everything. I prefer that with this style of football than just a tackle and don't offer me a lot else. That's kind of why I've got that difference there.
I totally get that. You can definitely sell that to me. Like I said, with like the goal spread that we were talking about, I'm weirdly optimistic that we are not going to be kind of short on goal kicking options. I mean, not that Cottrell is really that anyway, but yeah. And then the other big difference, I suppose, is that I've gone with Reedy as well. You could absolutely sell me on the fact that we don't need another ruckman. In this scenario, I'm thinking both him and Pitto probably don't have huge game time. Each of them rests forward a little bit. it's a little hard for me to foresee us actually not going in with either Reedy or O'Keefe. So, like, for example, in your team, is Harry taking centre bounces and jumping up into...
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So this was kind of the issue, and I totally understand that, and that's maybe why we should go 2 rucks. I think in my lineup, Reedy and Pitternet, they're just so similar style of ruckman, so it doesn't feel like that's why you should have 2. If you're going 2 ruckman, one should be your more athletic type, one's your more stable ruckman. We don't have that. I think in the end, I just thought instead of a ruckman, I could have a Zach Williams, I could have a Nick Newman, I could have a Matt Cottrell, and I got more excited about that. And you know me, long-term listeners will know, I just think rucks, who cares? Throw anyone else in them. For me, Pitto, every centre bounce he's in there, around the ground, Cripper, you can do it. Kemp, you can do it. Frankie Evans, you can do it. I could not give a shit who it is.
Yeah.
But centre bounces, it's got to be Pitto or throw anyone else in there. Mate, I'm not fast.
Yeah.
But I just want on the record, I don't want any key players like Harry to take any centre bounce rucks.
That's just the worry. Like, let's say that Pitto goes down first 2 minutes of that game. Are we winning that game?
Probably not.
Probably not. But
yeah, we probably should have 2 ruckmen. I think I was just trying to be a bit cute with it, like I always do, and say I can get more versatility from someone else than throwing another ruckman in there.
I wish we had one of those other key guys, either a forward or a back, that you could see going in there. Like Lewis Young, for example. Yeah. Like if he's in this team, you can kind of make the case that he could cover. Yeah. I don't know. But I might be eating those words by the end of the season, and maybe the ruck is truly less important than ever. And where we are going, Moya, take a ruck contest and it actually doesn't matter.
So
combine them.
Yeah, I want to combine this. I wanted to do something a bit fun to transition into the next segment where we're going to do a bit of podcast reminiscing, talking about the different teams, basically. The team we had at the start in 2020 and the team now, and looking at our best 23 that we had back then and trying to combine the team that we've just made then. So let's quickly do that. Let's combine it. So we need one last player in defense, potentially. I'm just trying to do this on the fly and pad for time. So we've got Nick Haynes, Wiedering, Cowan, Sard, O'Farrell, Florence, and we'll go Zach Williams in there. So we're throwing Nick Newman to the Wolves. Is that what we're doing? Or is it better to just say Nick Newman so we can cancel him out as a player here? If so, who is removed from that, Lockie?
Who would be the obvious
one? Basically, the old team, to run you through it, is Newman, Jones, Plowman, Doherty, Wiedering, Simpson, and Marchbank is the rest of that back line. The midfield is Cruiser in the ruck, Murphy, Curnow, Cripps, with Walsh and Petreski Seaton on the wings. The forward line is Martin, Curnow, Fisher, Gibbons, Mackay, Betts, with Cunningham, Nunes, and Silvani rounding out that bench. Have we gotten better?
Grim.
Are we worse? I am concerned to find out. But pad for time, Lockie, while I try and combine this team.
Yeah, God, what do I think about when I look at that team? Like, I could just imagine, obviously, how bullish we were on basically every name there. Like, Doherty was in his prime in this era. Cripps, obviously. Curnow and Mackay, well, I mean, they could have been anything at that point. Mickey Gibbons, I'm sure we were bullish on him then.
I don't know if we were bullish on Mickey Gibbons back
wonder.
then. Maybe if they ever played him as a midfielder, I would have liked to have seen what we could have done there, but unfortunately, we never got to see that.
Hindsight is so 2020, isn't it? Like, you just look at this now, and it's like, how could you think that this was going to be anything? Sam Petreski-Seaton, the one that got away, of course.
Could have been anything. Mate, if the game was always played in wet weather, he would have been best on ground every single time. What a fall from grace, unfortunately. Zach Fisher was our man. He's the one we all thought that was just going to be it, but it just wasn't to be. While I finish this, Elijah Hollins needs to be in this team. Lockie, we need one more spot. Tell me who you want here. I've tried to be even. So we've got the back line of Haynes, Wiedering, Cowan, Florent, Farrell, Sard, Williams. Midfield is Pitternet, Hewitt, Smith, Cripps, with Walsh and Hollins there. I've gone Chera for my sake, and just to make it sound a bit better than Cooper Lord. Then we've got Elijah Hollins, Haywood, Kemp, Ainsworth, Moya, Mackay, Frankie Evans. Who am I missing for that last bench spot? I feel like I'm missing someone big here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy for you to put Newman in because, like you had. Yeah.
Okay, let's try and cancel out the players that already exist from this old team that are still here. So we've got Newman, Wiedering is in both, Cripps is in both, Walsh and Mackay are in both. Gee, it's actually a lot different than I anticipated.
Isn't it? It is really different.
And there is no one else the same. That is kind of crazy when you think about it. So let's go through one by one positionally. Tell me better or worse? Jones v. O'Farrell.
I think Jones in 2020.
Liam Jones is better.
Yeah.
Oh
no.
So that means O'Farrell is not better. Plowman versus Cowan.
I mean, like I said, Plowman was third in the best and fairest that year.
If you were to pick a team right now, would you be wanting Cowan right now or Plowman?
Cowan.
Yeah, thank you. It's not Plowman. I'm sorry. We were Plowman's number one fans on this podcast.
Were we?
But it's not him. Marchbank or Nick Haynes? It's Nick Haynes.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marchie. Then Doherty or Ollie Florence?
Yeah, Doherty back then, 2020.
Did you do an ACL that year? I can't recall.
I think regardless, Doherty was,
Okay.
one of our best.
I think that's
3
fair.
to 5 players then.
Cade Simpson, who might have been about 40 years old, or Adam Sard.
Yeah.
It might be Cade? I don't.
Oh, no. We got to be optimistic, right?
We're going Sard now.
Oh, God.
It's Cade Simpson.
It's probably
Cade Simpson.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Shit.
God damn it, Sardi. This is not looking good for the Are We Any Better? Would you prefer Ollie Hollins or Petreski Seaton? Ollie Hollins. Here we go. Finally, some optimism is upon us.
Thank God.
Jack Martin or Will Hayward?
Yeah, not even close, right?
It's Will Hayward.
Yeah.
Vibe City. He's my favorite player behind Benny Ainsworth already. Speaking of Benny Ainsworth or Zach Fisher, it's Benny Ainsworth.
Yep.
He's just better.
Good.
Zach Fisher's now at North Melbourne. Is he still on their list?
He is. He's not going to play 5 games.
Surprise me if he's not. Unfortunately, Kerno is better than Brody Kemp. But who knows, maybe this year, Kempy's better.
Maybe.
In the forward pockets, you've got Mickey Gibbons or Ashton Moyer.
We got to
go. Oh, it's Ashton.
Right?
I'm sorry, Mickey. It's not you.
Yeah.
Then about 100-year-old Eddie Betts or in prime Frank the Tank.
Yeah, we have to go with the prime man, surely.
It's Frank the Tank. It just is.
What a blasphemous statement to say.
I don't think Eddie Betts has ever kicked one from the centre square.
I doubt it.
I don't think so. Matty Cruiser, could he walk?
2020 Cruiser versus Pitternet. I think it is Pitternet. In 2020 Cruiser.
I don't even know if it could move.
Yeah.
Because that's the season. Was the incredible game by Paddy Cripps against Brisbane? That was 2019, wasn't it?
Correct.
I don't know if Cruiser even played in 2020. Can we fact check that now?
Yeah.
Look this up for me.
Games for Matty Cruiser. He played 15 in 2019.
How many in 2020 though? Because that's the team that ends up being
because
this was our best 22 before the season played. So I kind of then want to know what happened after this. Did he play? After
this, he played 1 game.
Yeah, I guess it's Pitto. He kicked a goal from, I don't think Matty Cruiser's kicked a torpedo from about 70 metres out.
Doubt it.
Midfield, prime Georgie Hewitt or a 32-year-old Mark Murphy? Yeah. I know the sidestep the banana, but I think that might have been the year before.
It was.
So it's Georgie Hewitt coming off the back of a John Nichols medal. It's Jagger Smith over Ed Kerno. Sorry, I feel like Ed Kerno's copped a lot of drive-bys on the history of this show, so why not one more? Now that we don't like your brother, it makes it really easy. Looking on the midfield, Jack Nunes or Adam Chera. I mean, Adam Chera hasn't kicked a goal after the siren, but he's definitely a lot better than Jack Nunes.
He is due, yeah.
So it's Chera.
I'm feeling a lot better now than how this started.
The back line was worrying me for a little bit. David Cunningham or Elijah Hollins. It's Elijah Hollins. And then Silvani.
2020 Jack Silvani.
Or Zach Williams. Who would you want?
Jack Silvani.
Tell me the stats.
He played 3 games in 2020.
Well, sorry, mate. No good. It's Zach Williams.
Isn't that fascinating?
He played quite well.
2 goals.
And if you really want to, you could throw in Casbolt or McGovern into that Silvani position because that's who we were debating at the time of that podcast. But look, if you combine those teams, the only players that you're removing, you're getting rid of O'Farrell, bringing in Liam Jones.
Yep.
Sard's out, Simpson's in, Florent out, Doherty in, and those were tight calls. And then it's just Charlie Curnow for Brody Camp. Apart from that, we're better. So the optimism here is that we have spent...
And how do we go in 2020 again?
The last 6 years...
We finished 11th.
Doing this podcast, and I've got us finishing 12th. So that's great to know. Maybe we have not progressed.
Leading goal kicker Harry Mackay, 21 goals in that shortened season. Jesus
we have
Christ.
To be better than 11th then.
How are we breaking that down? Jesus,
that would have been a grim season, and that's our first. How we had any listeners?
Why weren't we playing Sam Ramsey?
What could have been?
That's what I'm wondering.
The great man himself. Who else was on that niche list of players? Anyone else?
Hugh Goddard couldn't get a game.
Oh, poor bastard. But so that's good. So that
and Finbar.
I was concerned about how that was going to go. I didn't know previously. I hadn't done the maths. So that is nice to know that we've improved as a best 23. Now, sorry for the abrupt cut, but Lockie did need to rush off in typical fashion. We recorded absolutely overtime and also spoke for like an hour before we even started to record our last episode. So we were short for time. So yeah, if you're listening to this in audio form, you're probably like, what's going on? This would have just been an easy splice together and no one would have known, but we are in video format and currently we are back on StreamYard. There's two of us on two separate screens. So yes, we will wrap up this episode nicely here. But for those watching who are like, what on earth is going on? That is what has happened here. So we're talking about reminiscing, Lockie. So I think to wrap up the last ever podcast and spend a little bit of time reminiscing the history of the podcast and Carlton that we've seen over these years. You know, we started the podcast in 2020 during COVID. A lot has changed since then. But for you, when you reflect on Carlton and where we were at in 2020 to where we are now, what for you has changed?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, a lot has changed. And you can definitely argue that some things have stayed the same in a not so positive way, I guess. I did a fair bit of reflecting on it, and like when we started in 2020, it's hard to go back to the shoes that we were in because we had just had not even an ounce of success in years. Like it just felt so hopeless from like 2015 to 18. Like when I think back to like that time, it felt like Walsh coming in was like a sign of hope. And then, you know, the Teague era was just such a stagnation. And it's so weird reflecting on that time too. The fact that he was made coach for that era after like a few wins, like that's how desperate for success we were. It's crazy to think about that. And then it's weird how when we did that exercise looking at the 2020 team, like looking at that in hindsight, it's so obvious that team was never going to do anything. Like there was so many players on there that in hindsight just clearly were never going to make it. But I don't know. It just shows that ever since I guess 2019, I've had, I guess, so much hope. But I didn't see that like actual path to success until probably Vossi came in. And then ever since then, I've just been filled with hope, and I still am.
It's been very strange. I think when you kind of reflect on it and see that team, it does make me initially think, oh no, am I overrating the team now? Because I was overrating them
100%.
then. Not even a lot. Like, I think we can all look at a lot of those names and think, look, we're not a great football team. But you were hopeful. You thought maybe with a few additions, we could jump up there. A few of the youngsters, a Fisher, Petrevsky, Seaton, who knows what they could turn into. And now you start to think, are there players on the list now that we just assume are going to develop, become good players, but they might just fall the way of those in previous generations? So it's a little bit concerning, but I think I agree with you. You know, T comes in and there's optimism because we started winning a few games in the back end of that season when he was caretaker coach. But I just remember the feeling around when Bolton got fired and it was just, we'll just lose forever. I don't know if this will turn around. I'm optimistic because that's the supporter I am, but there's no tangible evidence. And then to finally feel like we had turned that corner and it's a different probably spot now that we've kind of dropped back again. But I remember my feeling in those years when we were playing finals that, oh, I'm so grateful and thankful that we're finally at least a good team. Like the floor seems to be
Mhm.
just missing the 8, if not just being in the top 8. And I remember thinking even just a couple of years
Mhm.
ago, I'm excited for the generation coming through that get to just see Carlton be an okay football team. They don't see us being bottom of the ladder and thinking that that's just what you're going to get. And while we've kind of fallen away a little bit now, and maybe it dampens things, touch wood, I don't see that floor sinking that far and really being that for hopefully the next, 5 to 10 years. I feel like we're a little bit smarter than that now. We've built enough of the list. When you look at that list back then, who was the staple pieces? There
Mm.
wasn't really great players there. I think we've at least got that now to build upon. So there is someone to learn from. You can learn from Cripper, Walsh, Wiedering. There are these better players when previously, not to their detriment, but like guys like Mark Murphy and Cade Simpson, they hadn't really won anything at all. And I
Mhm.
think their losses were almost too much compared to some of this team. So yeah, I think I'm optimistic about the future comparing just how bad that team was in 2020 to now.
But even then, even that 2020 team, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it also kind of feels like one era to me. That this time of like, did we even think that we were going to make finals with that team?
Mm,
I don't
I
think
hope not.
we. Yeah, I don't think we did. I don't know. I guess I could go back and listen to those episodes, but yeah, like the Bolton era. I know I would have said this on the podcast before when we've reminisced on that time too, but we would go to the footy and be like, I think there's a genuine chance we
Mm,
don't lose by 50 or more today. And that was like, we leave the footy and we lost by 30. And it's like, oh,
mm,
how good's that? And so it took so long for those goalposts to move. And then, yeah, kind of like you alluded to, I guess, that time of us thinking that we were actually like a contender was
mm.
pretty fleeting now in hindsight.
Yeah.
And we're kind of back to, I guess, where we were in like 2022 areas.
Mm. It's a weird one. And I mean, there's been a few really shockers. Like obviously that Teague Port game where I think it was almost like 17 goals in a row we conceded. It was something ridiculous.
Mhm.
We've even had with Vossi a couple of Adelaide games where we just weren't touching the football. So it's still kind of thereabouts, and maybe I'm just
Yeah.
misremembering things, but that end of the Teague era, it just felt like everything was bad and nothing can ever be good. And we've had that a few
Yeah.
times with Voss, but it seems to have always found a way to get out of it. And I don't know, at least the administration side of things, I feel more confident than ever that
Mm,
they will find a way to make it work. And
yes.
maybe that's just because I'm living in the present and I'm trying to be optimistic about what's going on now. But I don't know, the
Mm,
feeling is different. And I think at least seeing some finals wins, seeing something, at least some evidence compared to when we started this podcast and it was all just, I'd love to make the 8. Can we even do that? It was so hard to even get there. At least we've kind of ticked that off as a flaw.
yeah, for sure. I reckon, and I'm going back again to that like 2015-18 time. I feel like where I was at in like my footy fandom, I had this idea that it would be linear. And it was
Mm,
like, okay, 2015, 16, we are tearing this thing down. But if we do that, it's kind of inevitable that these young guys will just become good. And so, yeah, then when like 2018, 19 came around and that wasn't happening, like I could imagine maybe that's kind of how like a North supporter would feel now, like going into this season potentially, where it's like, if this season goes poorly, it could be kind of like Brendan Bolton 2018 areas for them. Um, yeah, who knows? Who knows?
yeah, no, 100%. But what will you remember most from this navy blue corner era, Lockie?
Well, that's the thing. I think I'm definitely going to remember the good times the most. And the good times are going to feel like they were longer than maybe they were.
Mm,
Like I just said, like it was kind of
half a
fleeting that,
season.
yeah, totally. But I remember the 2022 start of the season, like the start of the Voss era, where we were like third after 10 rounds or something. And it was like, oh my God.
That
It
game
happened.
when we were in Airlie Beach watching
Yes.
like on delay because KO couldn't work, Carlton Port Adelaide, that was scenes. Like that's one of my favorite memories, like all those little
Me
moments that
too.
you're always going to remember now.
100%. That game sticks in my mind. The Sydney game, because they were such a strong team that year. We beat them. That I think that was the Zach Fisher like goal to seal it, and it was like, oh my God, we're unstoppable. Like that era of the podcast, and then I think 2023, like the episode where you and I like around the bye, where we were contemplating things, like that was just such grim areas.
We had a genuine emergency meeting off pod to try and discuss what do we even do, Lockie? Like, I'm depressed. You're depressed. We've covered everything. What do we talk about now, let alone if this just continues to happen for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just for our enjoyment. It was like, how can this be a podcast that anyone wants to listen to if there's nothing to say anymore? And I think, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
weird thing. I think, yeah, Carlton wise, that run in 2023, just the absolute despair in that season to then turn just within a couple of weeks into just the greatest experience I've had. And it sucks that it was only a semi-final, and that's kind of semi-final win, and that's all we've kind of got from it. But just that feeling from those last few
Yeah.
games, that Charlie Mark in, I believe it was the Gold Coast game to get us finals in the first place. Then we win the first final. Melbourne game, obviously, if I could bottle that feeling and have it forever, it'd just be the greatest thing. And yeah, I think that's definitely something I'll remember. And apart from that, I think my biggest takeaway is just I'm so happy from this era that there is like a Carlton community that kind of
Yeah.
exists that I am somewhat a part of. I think when we started this podcast, it was like I had you to talk about. Big shout out to the great man Casey Mitz. I had him to talk Carlton about, and that was like it. And I always wanted to be able to talk to more people about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, for us to have kind of started this podcast to have a community that listens, that interacts with this podcast, and then just on Twitter, on the socials, on Instagram, there's so many people now that I feel like we can just chat to, and you can feel a part of something. You can throw your thoughts out. There's people you want to hear their thoughts about the footy. You don't have to try and read some news article, wait on Footy Classified for 5 minutes you might get of Carlton. There's now so much content out there. It's just that community feel is what I think I'll take away the most of this. It's made the ups and downs so much more enjoyable, knowing there's so many similar people all experiencing the same thing. It's, yeah, by far the best part of this last 6 years.
Definitely. Definitely agree. Yeah, I wrote that down as well. Particularly in the good times. That part of things was just even better. Like when we were going on those runs and yeah, you'd put tweets out there asking for votes or asking for favorite moments. And it's like we literally cannot even get through all of them on the show because there's just so many people just loving what Carlton are doing. So yeah, I'll remember that fondly as well.
Do you have any favorite specific moments of the podcast era, Lockie?
Well, I was actually gonna skip ahead in the run sheet and ask you that when you mentioned like the bottling of that feeling. Let's reminisce on that for a minute. Like, how do the feelings of the Sydney game and Melbourne game differ for you, if they do, or does that feel like one thing? Like, talk to me about that.
Yeah, they're definitely different. They're definitely different feelings. I think for me, the Sydney game was, I remember it's just those little things. I've probably spoken about it before, but for years and years of not playing finals. And when we did play finals, I only went to the 2011 game, and I would have been so young. I couldn't truly
same.
appreciate it. And so to then be in the doldrums for so long, I was just excited for little things like I can't wait for the national anthem of a final.
Yeah.
And then being able to yell "Go Blues" as soon as that ends and the siren goes, and seeing us run out of the banner. All those little moments were just the things that I was excited for. And it was like I just wanted to see us play in a final and win a final. And so that it felt like a relief of a different way of I've just finally we can tick off this. No one can say shit because we've now at least won a final. You can't hold that
Yeah.
over our heads for another 10 years. But then the Melbourne game, it was I had kind of written us off late in that last quarter because we couldn't get our hands on the football.
Oh, they were
Melbourne just
dominating
kept
possession.
missing. They could have won that game by about 5 goals if they had put those through. And so I was
Genuine.
kind of mentally in my head being like, okay, I'm disappointed, but this is the end. And then obviously that passage of play is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of football. I can replay it in my head like it
Oh,
happened 2 seconds ago. And then the siren, just the elation, the feeling, it was then like accomplishment. That first final felt like relief of, okay, we've won a final. Beating Melbourne was like, holy shit, could we go on a run? Could we actually do it? Is there just this belief now in this group that maybe I actually will believe we could beat Brisbane? Whereas I think after that Sydney game, I wasn't really thinking we could go on and maybe play in a grand final. After the Melbourne
yeah.
game, it just anything was possible. And yeah, just the feeling in the crowd, the complete euphoria of the bay I was in, just looking up everywhere, seeing everyone so happy, looked like the stadium was about to collapse because the way that MCG was shaking, it was
Oh,
unbelievable. And that's only for a semi-final. Like, imagine what it's going to be like
I
for
know.
the prelim, for the grand final. But yeah, I think that's how I separate the feeling of those two games. What about you?
Yeah. Obviously, very aligned on that, like the relieving elements of the Sydney match. It definitely
Mm,
didn't feel like enough just making the finals for that one. It felt like we have to win this game. Otherwise, the monkey's kind of still over the head. And then, yeah, going into the Melbourne game, like, I just, yeah, I feel like I had no expectation. And I was like,
mm,
I'll just take anything here. Like, we've progressed. We've taken the next step. If we have to come back in 2024 and do it, like, let's do it. Yeah, the sound on the siren and the sound from the Akers goal, which I definitely thought missed from where I was sitting. Yeah, crazy. It's great that we have the
mm,
podcast, like documentation of that, how we were feeling like the night after that, and our
mm.
voices being gone and all that. It's great.
I was definitely you're getting the jam donuts after the victory. I made
Oh
sure
yeah.
of that. Do you have any other, whether it's another big moment or whether it's a real niche moment that you really remember through this podcast era?
I probably spilled it already. I think it's really that 2023 middle of the season where we'd had the roller coaster and the pain of 2022. Actually, I'll put that down as a moment as well. Recording after that Collingwood game, end of 2022.
Mm. Thanks for bringing it up,
I,
Lockie.
I just remember so well us coming
We
on
took a
here
week.
and
We took a week to
we took
record
a
that.
week.
We needed that time off.
I feel like I have to show that to Anik after this that video because yeah, that's like a feeling I feel like I've never felt before.
No.
And I like that we have that documented. And then to go from that into the 2023
Mm,
mid-season where you and I are like genuinely like imagine if we sack Voss now. Like what
mm,
does that make us as a club? But also like the writing's on the wall. That we like it has to
yeah.
be done. This is a disaster. It's so that just feels like yesterday that we were doing that, and it's fucking 2.5 years ago.
Jeez. At least I'll never feel as bad as I did on this earth as I felt
Don't say
after that
that.
Collingwood game, which is
Anything's
weird because,
possible.
like, no, I think that broke me as a football fan, and I don't think I can ever be as emotional because, like, the game ended, I felt
It
nothing,
changed
got
you.
home, like, I laid on that lounge room floor for like 4 hours, just staring at the
Yeah.
ceiling, contemplating my entire existence and why I've been forced to support this football club and just years of despair. And yeah, nothing will ever, I don't think anything in football will make me that dejected. Like, because I've
I feel
experienced
that.
that now. I've experienced wanting finals so badly, thinking I finally had it, being torn out by the team you don't want to lose to in just the most brutal fashion. Like, I think
Yes.
even losing a grand final wouldn't equate to that or at least I know how to deal with that feeling now, which is something. But I'll try and be a bit more positive than remembering the worst parts, Lockie. I'll give you this. Weirdly, it might look. I don't enjoy it more than obviously the Melbourne win, but this just holds a special place in my heart for so many different reasons. And
Mm,
it's the Jack Nunes goal against Freo after the
mm,
siren. And it was one of
yeah.
those, COVID was such a grim time, lockdown. The only thing that was kind of fun was being able to watch footy throughout the week. That was really the main thing for me. And I'm sure it was for many others. And the podcast was also something that gave me a bit of purpose and a bit of enjoyment throughout that period. And goals after the siren, they don't happen often. We hadn't had one in such a long time. And I think
Mm,
in the end, that win means absolutely nothing, but it's just one of those moments you'll always remember where you were when it happened for so many
definitely.
different reasons. And I just had everything. It was the most pure Carlton moment of all time where a couple of seconds left, we've got a free kick, just put this inside 50 and see what happens. Kicked it out on the
Out
full.
on the floor.
Somehow we've just ruined the entire thing. We can't even see that opportunity to somehow we've got another free kick in the dodgiest fashion. It's Jack Nunes. Okay, well, no one expects him to kick this. He's wrestling with the chair. He's wrestling with the cables for the TV. You're going, if there's one bloke in this team who probably won't hit this, it's unfortunately Jack Nunes. And then he goes on to hit the most purest kick of the football I've ever seen. Pure pandemonium. I was screaming in the living room, jumping all over the
Yes.
couch like I was Tom Cruise. It was just one of those just fun moments that you just get to enjoy footy. And like, you think about it, statistically, most years your team aren't going to win the flag. You're not going to have that. So you need to enjoy those little fun, stupid moments. And that Jack Nunes goal is one of those remember where you were,
Totally.
remember that fun feeling of footy, even if it means absolutely nothing.
I do like just remembering the goal and not, the quarter of absolute
Oh,
disgusting football that led to that moment. And yeah, the Doherty
one of
out
the
on the
worst games of
full. And
footy.
we had other chances at goal. What was the score? Like 40-34 or
Oh,
something. Like,
grim wet weather footy.
just awful. Just awful. Yeah, I'm feeling sentimental now thinking about like what you were saying about, you don't know if you'll ever feel as down as from a footy sense and that moment. I've also had that feeling the opposite way, thinking about like those Sydney and Melbourne moments
Mm,
where, yeah, thinking about like this year and I guess 2024 and 2025, like I know I've been out of the country, but I haven't had anything close, like even in the same stratosphere as the feeling of one of those moments. And what is it going to take for something to challenge one of those? Um, I'm excited to see if there
mm,
can be something, but I don't know how big that moment's going to have to be to
mm.
match that, just because of how much went behind it.
I think a prelim win, like the win to get you into a grand final is it now because that's the
Mm,
one that was missing. Like we had the final win, we had the semi-final. I think if we win another semi-final, it's obviously going to feel amazing, but we've already had that feeling now. And I know for a lot of other Carlton supporters that have
yeah.
probably seen some success, it wouldn't have been as big. But for people of our
Oh,
generation, that's the furthest we've ever seen us win in finals. And we're actually kind of age to really remember it. Like the Richmond win, the Essendon win, they were great, but I wasn't old enough to really appreciate it like I was this time around.
yeah. Yep. I really agree. I think that will be the case. And
Mm.
I just hope that one of those moments is going to be around the corner soon, because I want to get that feeling again.
Let's hope so. So, yes, thank you to everyone that has supported this podcast. This is, yes, our official, proper final episode. But now, in true us
Wild.
fashion, while this is our last episode of the podcast, it wouldn't be a proper farewell if we didn't also get to do one final Carlton draft episode. So, we will be recording that in the coming weeks as a bit of a farewell thank you and farewell gift, a bit of a bonus one. So, yes, this is one we have been wanting to do for some time. Almost when the podcast started, this was the idea, but we always thought maybe we should do something a bit more positive. Well, now feels like the perfect time because anyone from this generation will know that we've seen a lot of average footballers that come across the Carlton Football Club, especially during the rebuild years. So, of course, we have to do a draft around the niche players who have worn the navy blue. So, look out for our dud draft, where we will both be trying to make the best team that we can, taking in turns, pick by pick, until we have made a team out of players who have played 50 games or less for the club, the absolute dregs of the Carlton Football Club. It's going to be a lot of fun to reminisce on some really weird niche players. So if you're an absolute Carlton nuffy and love going back and listing weird players that played 4 games of footy and us saying, wow, I thought he was going to be a superstar, that's what you have in store for a little bit of a bonus episode. I absolutely can't wait.
Bring it on.
Lockie, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrap up our last ever official episode of the Navy Blue Corner?
Crazy. I'll keep it short, but I mean, if you've listened this long in our last episode, you probably are already with us in this sentiment, but I just encourage everyone just to get behind them as much as we can this year. I really do think that they need it more than ever, and we just need to do everything that we can, play our role to keep these good vibes rolling for as long as we can. So stay positive and optimistic no matter what, and we're going to get there eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great way to end it. I think the last thing that I just wanted to say again is just thank you to everyone who's ever listened to this, given it a chance, even if you hated
Yeah.
it and you never came back. Thank you, because seeing that one extra listen each week has absolutely made this experience amazing. You know, I think when we started this, I think we believed in it, but it's hard to ever think someone will listen to. So to have so many of you come back, build this community where people are constantly, we see the same names each week asking questions in the YouTube comments. It's been so much fun. People have bought merch, Lockie, like that's crazy to think
Yeah.
about. So just genuinely just wanted to say thank you, because it's meant the absolute world. Always wanted to make a bit of a Carlton show, and you've allowed
Yeah.
me to do that. Made me feel like I actually accomplished that. So thanks to everyone who listened. We appreciate you all a lot. I'd say see you guys next time, but there isn't a next time. Up the bloody baggers. See ya.